Hi friends, myself Durga. I'm working as a Java trainer for the last 16 years in Durga Soft. I worked more than 5 years in IBM as a software engineer, sir. Sir, now I want to introduce the most valuable, very important course for your day-to-day coding, Java exception handling for certification under interviews. Observe that, for certification under interviews. Sir, do you know, in total Java, the most valuable concept, compulsory, day to day we are going to use exception handling concept. You can't expect a Java code without a try and catch blocks. I hope you people may be aware. Okay. So even for interview room also, what is the difference between finally, finalize? What is the difference between checked exception, unchecked exception? Most commonly asked questions in every Java interview. That's why exception handling, very important for our day-to-day coding, very important for our interviews, even for certification also. Whether you are planning for OCJA or OCJP, either first level or second level, in both the certifications, this topic is one very important topic. That's why you people should have very clear ideas, sir. Moreover, exception handling concept is my favorite topic, sir. You people can expect much subject with full confidence from me, yes, especially related to exception handling. So yeah, the part of exception handling, what the things we are going to discuss. Have a look once. Here, the first I will discuss introduction concept. What is exception? Why exception handling is required? What is the meaning of exception handling? All these things I will discuss, right? Sir, next, runtime stack mechanism. A small theoretical concept, right? Whenever you are calling Java method, internally stack frame will be created. How the stack frames will be created and so on. Runtime stack mechanism we will discuss. Next, default exception handling in Java. So if you are not writing any try catch, by default, what will happen? What will happen in Java if an exception rises? Compulsory you people should have clear clarity. Next, exception hierarchy. Do you know the most important concept for the interview room, sir? Do you know which class acts as root for all Java exceptions? Throwable class. Sir, throwable class contain two child classes are there. Exception, error. What is the difference between exception and error? Next, what is checked exception, unchecked exception? These are things we are going to discuss very clearly in this part, sir. Next, after that, customized exception handling by using try catch. If you want to handle exceptions explicitly, then how you can use a try and a catch. Next, control flow in try catch. So inside try block, if an exception rises, what will happen? Inside catch block, if an exception rises, what will happen? What is the flow of execution inside the try catch we have to discuss. Next, methods to print exception information. Sir, I want to print exception information. Which methods are there? Sometimes get message method, sometimes print stack trace method, sometimes toString. What is the difference? When exactly we require to use these methods? Like we have to discuss, right? Next, try with multiple catch blocks. Sir, maybe a chance. A single try may contain multiple catch blocks. What is the need? If multiple catch blocks are there, in which order, sir, JVM is going to give the precedence? Do you have any rules are there? All those things we have to discuss about try with multiple catch blocks. Next, finally block. Sir, what is the purpose of finally block? What is the specialty of finally block? When the finally block will be executed, what rules are there related to finally? We have to discuss, right? Sir, next, after that, the most important question for the interview room. What is the difference between finally and finalize? Sir, most important question. Crores of times asked question in the interview room. What is the difference between finally and finalize? Sir, final is a keyword. Finally is a block. Finalize is a method. What is the difference, right? Sir, we will discuss in detail. Next, various possible combinations of try catch finally. Sir, try catch finally. In how many possibilities you can take? So try without catch, possible or not? Catch without a try, possible or not? Two finally blocks, possible or not? Like almost around 25 combinations we are going to discuss, right? So that you people can get much clarity about this one, sir. Next, control flow in try catch finally. Sir, in try catch finally, if an exception rises anywhere inside try block, if an exception rises, what will happen? Inside catch block, if an exception rises, what will happen? Inside finally block, if an exception rises, what will happen? How the flow of execution compulsory we should aware. Next, control flow in nested try catch finally. Sir, sometime inside a try block you can take try catch finally, inside catch block you can take try catch finally. So if a nested try catch finally is there, sir, how the control flow? Suppose inside outer try block exception riser, or inside inner try block exception riser, what will happen? What will happen? In which order the things are going to be executed? Compulsory we should aware. Clear for all of it, right? Sir, this is next, and after that the next important concept for the interview room, we should go for throw keyword. Are you getting what is the next one? Throw keyword. Throws keyword, what is the difference between throw and throws? Like in detail we have to discuss. Next, exception handling keywords summary. Exception handling keywords summary. Sir, try, except, try, catch, finally. Next, do you know throws for which purpose? So like I will give a small summary, sir. Next, various possible comparative methods in exception handling. Various possible comparative methods in exception handling. Sir, why I'm listing out all possible comparative methods? Because every comparative method itself is an important conclusion. So for the interview room or for our day-to-day coding, that's why let me list out all possible comparative methods, then all those conclusions we should aware. Next, customized or user-defined exceptions. Sometime based on our programming requirement, we have to define our own exception, not Java inbuilt exception. We have to define our own exception. Such type of exceptions are called customized or user defined exceptions. How you can define, how you can use, this part we have to discuss. Next, top 10 exceptions. Just oddly most commonly occurred 10 exceptions we are going to discuss with the examples. Sometimes in the interview room, boss, in your previous project, what are the most commonly raised exceptions? Whatever commonly exceptions what you faced, like immediately we should be in a position to answer. Are you getting right? Next, 1.7 version enhancements. Sir, try with the resources. Try with the resources. Second one, multi-catch block. A single catch block that can handle multiple exceptions also. Okay, make sure these are 20 topics we are going to discuss, so that if any person is asking, do you know exception handling, give left and right. You will become king after completing these things, I'm sure, sir. Next, and after that, even I will touch in the 1.9 version related to try with resources, there is some enhancement came. Of course, it is not required as of now for our certification, but still, just I will spend some time so that you will get much clarity. Clear for all of you, right? So at the part of this course, what things you are going to cover, what things you are going to learn at the part of exception handling, this is the agenda. Clear, right? Be ready to give left and right. Hi friends, yeah, the part of exception handling. The first topic what I have to talk, introduction to exception handling. Here I want to talk 3 important points. What is exception? What is the purpose of exception handling? What is the meaning of exception handling? These are 3 points we are going to discuss. Sir, can you please tell what is an exception? Ayo, respond. What is an exception? Runtime exception, abnormal termination. What is an exception? If the interview person is asking, can you please define an exception? What answer you are going to tell? Yes, friends? Yes? Best example. I don't want to go for technical terminology. Let me talk our day-to-day normal general life terminology, right? Suppose you are viewing this video, Okay, you are viewing this exception learning video. So by mistake net connectivity disconnected, or there is a problem with your system. Array, last half an hour onwards you are listening properly, suddenly something goes wrong, the power problem or net is not working, or otherwise your system problem, something. So immediately you are not in a position to continue listening this video. Are you getting right? Okay, something goes wrong, an unwanted, unexpected event. Sir, I don't want this event, unexpected event that disturbs normal flow of program. Are you getting right? An unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs normal flow of program. Maybe power failure, system problem, or maybe internet connectivity problem. Something goes wrong, okay, which disturbs our normal flow of the program is called exception. Next, another best example, sir. Suppose you are attending this class offline. Assume that in the regular classroom you are attending, sir. Early morning, yet 6 o'clock is the class. Assume that. So you are staying a bit very far, almost around 40 kilometers. Around 40 kilometers distance you require to travel to attend this session. Assume that, sir, maybe in Hyderabad, Vanasthalipuram, almost do you know, almost around 40 kilometers outskirts of Hyderabad, right? Sir, you have to come from Vanasthalipuram by traveling 40 kilometers to attend the session at 6 a.m. To come at 6 a.m. to the class, compulsory you have to start at 5 a.m. Okay, to start at 5 a.m. compulsory you have to wake up at around 4:30. Okay, to wake up at 4:30 compulsory you have to keep alarm minimum at 2 o'clock. Are you getting? 2 o'clock alarm is going to ring, snoozing to 2:30, snoozing and so on. So at last at 4:30 you are going to wake up. Next 4:30 to 5 you are going to get ready, and 5 o'clock you catch the bus. At 6 o'clock you came to the class. Sir, everything is happening according to the flow. Assume that, sir. Now you are there in the class, faculty started the class. Now what is the next flow? Whatever faculty is covering, you have to listen very carefully. You require to listen very carefully. You require to grasp this subject, and you require to use this subject somewhere in the company, or otherwise in the interview, or otherwise in the certification exam. Somewhere you have to use this subject. Sir, class started. Happily the faculty is continuing, sir. Whenever faculty is teaching, so suddenly after 5 or 10 minutes, sir, you are getting sleeping. Are you getting? You are getting sleeping. So single point also not entering into your mind. Remember this. So an unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs normal flow of the program. Are you getting right? Which disturbs normal flow of the program. Sir, because of your sleeping, you are not in a position to listen the class properly. You are not going to get anything. Are you getting right? So main objective, main flow got disturbed because of your sleeping. So such type of unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs the normal flow of the program is called exception. Are you getting right? So in this scenario, which exception got raised, sir? Sleeping exception. Are you getting? Which exception got raised, sir? Sleeping exception. Okay, sir, observe carefully, right? Are you getting? So something goes wrong which disturbs our regular flow, which is nothing but exception. Clear? Sir, let me go for one more example so that you people can feel more comfortable, right? Assume that you have to go to the office by two-wheeler, maybe by bike or scooter. You require to travel by two-wheeler. You are going to the office, right? At 8 a.m. you started. So at 9 you have to reach the office. You require to reach the office. At 9 o'clock in the office, there is one important meeting is there. You require to attend that meeting. Assume that, sir. So at 8 by your two-wheeler, you started, sir. You started. Almost you reached almost half of the distance. Suddenly, bike tire got punctured. Are you getting? Early morning at 8:30, bike tire got punctured. You are not in a position to continue the office. So, no repairing shops also, because at morning 8:30, who is going to open? No one is going to open, right? Then you have to go back by walk. Maybe after repairing, you may reach the office at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Your team leader, project manager is going to get left and right. Are you getting right? Something goes wrong which disturbs your regular flow. An unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs the normal flow of the program is by default considered as exception. In this case, which exception got raised, sir? Tire punctured exception. Are you getting what is this exception? Tire punctured exception. Sir, it is got raised. Don't ask, sir, in which Java package tire? An exception. An unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs the normal flow of the program is called exception. Okay, well, sir, now let me go for a small technical example so that you can get much clarity about this one, sir. Sir, what that a technical example? Very, very simple, sir. Assume being a programmer, of course, in my programming requirement is I have to read the data from London. Are you getting? Read the data from remote file, read data from remote file, locating at London. Read the data from remote file, locating at London, like this, right? Sir, now the program started. So programming requirement is we have to read the data from the remote file locating at London. But at runtime, London file is not available. So if the file is not available, then our program not in a position to continue our execution. Are you getting right? So in this scenario, something goes wrong. The raised problem, the raised exception is a file not found exception. Are you getting right? What is this one, son? File not found exception. Remember this. So in our program, if something goes wrong which disturbs our normal flow of the program, which is nothing but what? Exception. An unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs normal flow of the program is called exceptions. Or something goes wrong which disturbs our normal flow of the program, which is nothing but what? Exception. Can you please give an example for exception? File not found exception, tire punctured exception, and sleeping exception. Is the point very clear, right? Can you define an exception? Can you give an example for exception? Clear? Now the first point related to exception handling is very clear. What is exception? Now, what is the purpose of exception handling? Sir, it is highly recommended to handle exceptions. Okay, what the need, what is the purpose, right? Sir, best example, if something goes wrong, yes, obviously, everything is going to be happen as per our expectations, no such type of thing. So, in our life, it is not going to be happen. In our programs also not going to be happen. Sir, if everything goes fine, as per our wish, you never going to listen this video. I never going to teach this video, sir, because my assumptions are a bit higher. Are you getting? Your assumptions may be a bit higher. You may not. So, if something goes wrong, are you getting? Something goes wrong, we should be in a position to handle the situation. So it is highly recommended to handle exceptions, right? Exception handling must be required. Now my question is, what is the purpose of exception handling? Sir, very easy example. Let me bring one layman example, right? Sir, everyone, the person who is viewing, who is seeing this video, everyone can have at least one time in your life this type of experience, right? Sir, being a student or being an employee, this type of experience is there. Sir, assume that in the college, I have to give the demo, or otherwise you have to give a seminar. You require to submit your seminar report, project report or seminar report in the college at morning 9 a.m. Assume that, sir. So at early morning 4 o'clock onwards, you are full busy with preparing that report. Assume that 4 a.m. onwards you are full busy to prepare that project report or seminar report. Sir, you are writing some data, you are draw some images and so on. Almost your plan is at 8 you have to complete that. You have to complete, and by 9 you have to reach the college and you have to submit to your HOD or principal. This is about your job. Almost you are ready to complete, sir. Suddenly at 7:45, almost ready to complete. Suddenly at 7:45, power gone. Backup facility is not there. You are getting power gone. Backup facility is not there. Power backup is not there. You didn't save that work. You didn't use control yes. Have you observed? Then, sir, after just 2 minutes power gone. After 2 minutes power came again, but your work gone. Are you getting whatever you typed early morning 4 o'clock onwards? Okay, but it was gone. So if something goes wrong, because of that you are missing something. Regarding you are losing something. So we should not miss anything. We should not lose anything. I want a graceful termination. Are you getting that? Can you please repeat the word? Which termination you want? Graceful termination we want. If you want graceful termination, better to go for what? Exception handling. So if something goes wrong, we should not miss anything. We should not miss anything. We should not lose anything. Such a type of graceful termination I want. That is the main purpose of exception handling. Theoretically, are you feeling comfortable, right? So what is the purpose of exception handling, sir? Graceful termination of the program. Sir, let me go for a small programming example. Here, see this one. Suppose I have some program is there. In my program, the flow is open DB connection. Assume that carefully, sir. I'm trying to open database connection. Now read the data. Read the data from the database. Read the data. Next, after reading the data, close the database connection. Close the DB connection. Okay, this is my programming requirement. Of course, in our programs, this type of requirements are very common. Now, assume that this is my database, right? Okay, I have to open DB connection. I have to read the data. I have to close this DB connection. Assume that. Sir, now DB connection I opened successfully. DB connection I opened, sir. Next, while reading data from the database, suddenly I got the SQL exception. Are you getting? Suddenly I got the SQL exception. While reading the data, I got SQL exception. I didn't handle that exception. Of course, I don't know exception handling. I didn't handle that exception. Then what will happen? The program will be terminated here only abnormally. Are you getting? The program will be terminated here only because you didn't handle. If the program terminated here, then who is going to close the database connection? No one is going to close. One database connection is open, but no one is using, but no one is closing. Are you able to understand? Unnecessary. One DB connection is going to be wasted. Sir, now if for 10 times 10 programs are terminated like that, 10 times 10 programs are terminated like that, then automatically 10 connections are going to be wasted. Sir, 11th person is coming to communicate with the database. Okay, but my database server can provide support max 10 connections only. Suppose 11th connection is required. Sorry, database server is not in a position to provide support. Total application is going to be crashed. Total application is going to be down because of this problem. Are you able to get right? So we are missing something. We are blocking our resources because of exceptions. So we should not do that. I want a graceful termination. For that, we require to go for what? Exception handling. Are you getting right? Now, the second word related to exception handling is the very clear, sir. What is that second word? What is the purpose of exception handling? The main purpose of exception handling is graceful termination of the program. If something goes wrong, wrong, we should not miss anything, we should not lose any resources, we should not block any resources. Graceful termination I require, then we should go for exception handling. Clear for all of you, right? Up to this, any doubt? Sir, up to this, it is very clear for you. What is an exception? What is the purpose of exception handling? So, an unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs the normal flow of the program is called exception. Next, what is the purpose of exception handling? Graceful termination of the program. Sir, now the third one, what I have to discuss, what is the meaning of exception handling? Sir, we have to handle exceptions. Highly recommended to handle. What is the meaning? What is the meaning of exception handling? In what way you are going to handle exceptions, right? Very simple terminology, sir. Suppose assume that most of the people are going to feel exception handling means you are going to repair that exception. No. We are not in a position to repair sometimes. That's why. So what it means? Just a small example, layman example I will cover. Sir, I told already, you are preparing your seminar or project report. So almost 3 hours you worked, you didn't save, power gone, you are missing something. Are you getting? How you can handle this one? Can you please tell? Yes, friends, it is our normal day-to-day life. How you can handle this one? Yes, very simple. You will go for power backup. You are arrange power backup at least for 5 minutes. If the power gone, still the system is on because of your backup power. So you will save all the things and then stop the program. Are you getting? Shut down your system. Once power came, then you can start your system and again you are going to work. Are you getting right? So something like you are arranging backup facility to continue your work as usual. Are you getting? So defining alternative way to continue rest of the program normally is nothing but exception handling. So every day, in our every minute of life, so we are always using exception handling, but unknowingly we don't know that is called exception handling. If you go to the hotel, you are asking, boss, can you please give 1 plate idli, something like tiffin, 1 plate idli like. Suddenly hotel person is telling, sorry, idli is not available. Then what you are going to do? Arey, can you please give the puri? Are you getting? You are asking about alternative and you are continue your program. Suppose if you go to the cinema right, you are trying to get the tickets for movie 1. But for movie 1 tickets are not available, then immediately, please check for alternative movie tickets, like you are going to do that. Or you require to travel to your native place. Sir, you are trying by bus. If the bus ticket is not available, no problem. You will try for the train ticket and you have to travel. Are you getting? You can travel. So means defining alternative way to continue rest of the program normally is nothing but exception handling. Sir, observe. Okay, I will go for a small technical terminology. Have a look one, sir. Approach one. Read data from a remote file locating at London and use that data. Sir, have you observed? This is one program. Assume that of course the corresponding code I will write. This is one program. This program, there is no guarantee, sir, for complete execution, for successful execution every time. Because at runtime, if a London file is not available, then immediately what will happen? File not found exception will come and this program will be terminated abnormally. Correct, right? But the same program in different style I want to write. Observe that. Read the data from a remote file. Read the data from remote file locating at London. London, sir. So at the runtime, if a London file is not available, if a file not found exception is coming, no problem at all. Happily, you can read the data from the local file, safe side, backup purpose, I arrange a local file, read the data from local file and continue the program. Are you getting? Here, if London file is not available, if the London file is not available, then use a local file. Next, use that data. Observe. Sir, have you observed? Both programs are going to read the data from the London file. But here have you observed, right? There is no guarantee for successful termination of this program. But this one, there is a maximum chance for successful termination, because I arranged alternatives also simultaneously, right? If London file is not available, no problem at all. Use a local file and continue rest of the program normally. So defining alternative way to continue rest of the program normally is nothing but exception handling. Everyone can able to understand? Can you please tell what is the meaning of exception handling, sir? We have to define alternative ways at the beginning only. If something goes wrong at runtime, by using that alternative, happily we can continue our rest of the program normally, which is nothing but what? Exception handling. Okay, best, sir, the same thing theoretically, I mean technically syntax wise, I will write like this. Observe carefully, sir. Here, try block I'm taking. Sir, read the data from London file, from remote file locating at London. Okay. Now catch, okay, file not found exception. Exception. If the file not found exception is coming, no problem. Don't worry, sir. Use local file. Local file and continue rest of the program normally. Use local file and continue rest of the program normally. Observe that. So I hope you are seeing the thing. So even London file is not available, no problem. Use local file, continue rest of the program normally. This is what is the meaning of exception handling. Main flow we have to take inside the try block. If in the try block, in the main flow, if something goes wrong, no problem. Alternative flow is available inside catch block, handling code. So alternative flow is available in the catch block. With alternative flow, sir, happily you can continue rest of the program. This is nothing but what? Exception handling. Are you in the position to understand, right? So yeah, the part of exception handling introduction, we covered three things. What is exception? What is the purpose of exception handling? What is the meaning of exception handling? What is an exception? Can you please repeat? An unwanted, unexpected event that disturbs our normal flow of the program is called exception. What is the main purpose of exception handling? Graceful termination of the program. Are you getting? What is the main purpose of exception handling, sir? Graceful termination of the program. What is the meaning of exception handling? The meaning of exception handling is defining alternative way to continue rest of the program normally. Clear? Introduction. Okay. Sir, in the last video, we covered very clearly what is exception, what is the purpose of exception handling, and what is the meaning of exception handling. Sir, now the next topic as the part of exception handling, we have to discuss a runtime stack mechanism. What is this one, sir? Can you please spell out? A runtime stack mechanism. Sir, actually, if you have idea about these stacks, in the future, exception handling concepts you can understand very easily. Of course, this one not talks about direct exception handling, but having this knowledge is highly recommended. The remaining exception handling terminology you can able to understand, right? Okay, well, sir, now for I have one program is there. Assume that I have one Java program is there. In that Java program, there may be a chance of multiple multiple threads are there. But every Java program contain at least one thread. What is that thread? Main thread. I hope you people may have idea. Main thread. Every Java program contain at least one thread. That thread is main thread. Now, for every thread, JVM will create one runtime stack. Remember this one. For every thread, JVM will create one runtime stack. Assume that this is the runtime stack of this T1. This T1 or main thread or some. For every thread, JVM will create one runtime stack. Every method call performed by thread. Every method call, because this T1 may execute M1, this T1 may execute M2 or main method, like each and every method call performed by this T1, one entry will be saved inside the corresponding stack. Regarding for every method call, one entry will be stored inside the stack. This entry is called stack frame. This entry is called stack frame or activation record. Regarding this entry is called one stack frame or activation record. Okay, like. Sir, once assume that T1 calls M1. Oh, T1 calls M1, compulsory one entry will be stored in the stack. Once M1 completed, now the corresponding entry from the stack will be removed. Remember this one. Once that method call will be completed, now the corresponding entry from the stack will be removed. Are you able to understand? After completing all method calls, now this thread is going to terminate. Before terminating this thread, the corresponding empty stack will be destroyed by Java virtual machine. JVM is the responsible to destroy this empty stack. JVM is the responsible to create empty stack at the beginning. JVM will destroy this empty stack, right? Sir, observe. Are you able to understand? Just let me use the terminology. Of course, once I explain with an example, then you can able to understand, right? Sir, now for every thread, JVM will create one stack. Every method call performed by that thread, one entry will be stored in the stack. Once that method call execution completes, automatically that entry by default will be removed from the stack. Once the stack is empty, all method calls completed, now this empty stack will be destroyed by JVM. Any doubt? All the people are in a position to understand, right? Sir, let me go for a small chota example, then you can get much clarity, right? Observe very carefully, sir. Assume I have one class test, sir. I have class test is there. Assume this class test contain public static void, main method, string array args. Public static void, main method, string array args. Now this main method is calling do stuff method. Main method is calling which method, sir? Do stuff method. Now public static void do stuff. Public static void do stuff. This do stuff internally calls do more stuff. This do stuff internally calls do more stuff. Okay, well, now public static void do more stuff. Public static void do more stuff. Okay, inside do more stuff, system.out.println hello like I took, sir. A simple program. Here how many methods are there? Main method, do stuff, do more stuff. Main method internally calls do stuff. Do stuff internally calls do more stuff. Do more stuff just a print SOP of hello. Okay, well, now my question is, take very special care, sir. In this program, how many threads are there? You respond, friends. How many threads are there in this program? Only one thread, main thread. That's all, because I didn't create any child threads and so on. Every Java program by default contain one thread. What is that thread, sir? Main thread. Now, for main thread, for every thread, JVM will create one empty stack. For every thread, JVM will create one stack, one runtime stack. Sir, this is the runtime stack of main thread. Remember this. Sir, who creates this one? JVM is the responsible to create this runtime stack. Now, can you please tell main thread, which method will be called by the main thread? First. Which method? What is the first method which is executed by main thread? Main thread is always responsible to call main method. Remember this one, sir. Which thread is going to execute main method? Main thread, sir. So, for every method call performed by main thread, one entry will be stored. Remember, now main method will be called by main thread. That's why for this method call, one entry will be stored in the corresponding stack. Okay, one entry will be stored in the stack. Now, yata part of main method, sir, it is calling do stuff. Again, do stuff will be executed by main thread only, because only one thread. Every method call will be executed by main. Now, yada part of main method, sir, do stuff method it is calling. That's why for this do stuff method, one entry will be stored in the corresponding stack. Regarding do stuff also stored in the corresponding stack. Okay, now the control came to do stuff, sir. But at the part of do stuff, now it is calling do more stuff. Are you getting at the part of do stuff? Now it is calling what? Do more stuff. Okay, remember. Now, sir, it is also a method call. For this method call also, one entry will be stored inside a stack. Do more stuff. Are you getting? One entry will be stored inside a stack. This entry is called do more stuff. Now the control came to do more stuff. Observe very carefully, sir. Sir, inside do more stuff, just SOP of hello is there. Are you getting SOP of hello? That's why what output by default we are going to get, hello is the answer. Okay, well. Sir, after printing SOP of hello, is this do more stuff completed or not? Please confirm. This do more stuff completed or not? Yes. Once if any method call execution completed, now the corresponding entry will be removed from the stack. Now which is the corresponding entries are? Do more stuff will be removed from the stack. Okay, removed from the stack. Now once this one completed, now the control will goes to do stuff, because do more stuff method call completed. Now no other thing is there to continue. That's why do stuff is also completed. Once do stuff completed, remove the corresponding entry from the stack. Okay, JVM will remove the corresponding entry from the stack, sir. Now, sir, control goes to main. Inside main, other than do stuff call, nothing is there. That's why main method is also completed. If the main method completed, now the corresponding entry will be removed from the stack. Have you observed, right? Now can you please guide? Sir, now the stack will become empty. My main method is also completed. Nothing there to execute. That's why just before terminating main thread, JVM will destroy this empty stack. Are you getting? This empty stack will be destroyed by JVM. Are you getting? So this is what you people should be aware, which is nothing but runtime stack mechanism. Clear for all of you? What is the meaning of runtime stack mechanism? Okay. So for every thread, JVM will create a separate stack. Every method call performed by the thread, one entry will be stored in the corresponding stack. Once that method execution completed, the corresponding entry will be removed, sir. After completing all method calls, now the stack will become empty. Before terminating the thread, JVM will destroy the corresponding stack. This mechanism is nothing but what? Runtime stack mechanism. Next, each entry in the stack is called activation record. Activation record or stack frame. Are you getting? Activation record or stack frame. Each entry is called activation record or stack frame. Is it clear? Any explanation is required about runtime stack mechanism? Of course, you may ask, sir, why you are covering the other part of exception handling? Because if you can understand this one, the remaining concepts of exception handling, you can easily understand, sir, because it is the base for remaining topics of exception handling. Clear? Hi friends, in the last video we covered what is a runtime stack mechanism. Sir, now the next topic what we have to discuss, what is default exception handling in Java. Sir, if something goes wrong, if an exception rises, we are not having any exception handling code. By default, what will happen? Sir, what is default exception handling in Java? This is what I have to discuss. It's a very simple terminology, sir. Okay, but acts as a base for the remaining topics. That's why take a bit very special care. Let me explain with a small example, then you can get much clarity. Here, have a look once. Sir, observe, I have class test, public static void main method, string array args. Public static void main, string array args. Main method is there. This main method is calling, assume that it is calling do stuff method. Main method is calling do stuff method. Sir, now public static void do stuff, public static void do stuff internally calls do more stuff. Assume internally calls do more stuff. Next, public static void do more stuff. Public static void do more stuff. Now here I am taking system.out.println hello like this. I am taking, sir. Listen very carefully about this code, sir. Hello like this. I hope you people may already aware this terminology, sir. Sir, do you know? So in this, how many threads are available? I covered already in the last video, runtime stack mechanism. How many threads are available? Only one thread, main thread. For every thread, JVM is going to create one runtime stack. Okay? Well, this runtime stack created. Right? Assume that. Now, what is the first method call performed by main thread? Main method will be called by main thread. That's why first main. So main internally calls do stuff. Are you getting? Main internally calls what? Do stuff. Now for that do stuff also one entry added. Next, sir, inside do stuff, now the control came to do stuff. Inside do stuff, do more stuff. It is calling do more stuff, sir. Sir, do more stuff is another method call. For every method call, JVM will add one entry. That's why here do more stuff. Okay. Now the control do more stuff. Now the control came. Sir, inside do more stuff, SOP of hello. That's why output we are going to get hello is the output, sir. Output once hello completed, do more stuff completed. That's why do more stuff will be removed, and now the control go back to do stuff. Inside do stuff, no other extra things I have to do. Do stuff also completed. Now remove the do stuff also. Now the control go back to main method. After do stuff call, nothing is there. No extra code is there. That's why remove. Sir, main method also completed. Remove the entry, and JVM will terminate this thread and the corresponding stack will be destroyed. Okay, it is if everything goes fine, no problem. Hello is the answer, the program will be stopped. But something goes wrong. Regarding something goes wrong, then what will happen? That's what our cinema, sir. Sir, now observe carefully. Instead of SOP of hello, I'm taking SOP of 10/0. Are you getting? SOP of 10/0. 10/0 something goes wrong. Arithmetic exception came, sir. Now what is the flow? How the things are going to be happen? Because I never used any try or catch block. By default what will happen? This knowledge must be compulsory, you should have. Okay, well, sir, now here let me make my stack is empty. Sir, in this how many threads are there? Just now I explained. How many threads are there? Only one thread. Only one thread. What is that? Main thread. Main thread, right? Now main thread first calls main method. Main thread first calls main method. Main method calls do stuff. Now the control will comes to do stuff. Now, sir, main thread calls do stuff. Do stuff. Now, the other part of do stuff, sir, this do more stuff will be called. That's why the control comes to do more stuff. One entry added. Now, observe very carefully, sir. Do more stuff. Do more stuff. Now, the control comes to do more stuff. Sir, currently, control is inside which method? Do more stuff. Have you observed top of the stack is do more stuff only. Now, here something goes wrong. Observe very carefully, sir. Here something goes wrong. Inside a method, if an exception rises, inside a method, if an exception rises, the method in which it is raised is the responsible to create exception object. Remember this one, sir. The method in which this exception rises, that method is the responsible to create exception object, of course with the help of JVM only. Exception object created. In this object, what information added? Name of the exception. Can you please spell out what is the name of the exception? Sir, what is the name of exception? Sir, arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. What is the description of the exception? What is the description? Description of the exception. Description of the exception is division by 0. Is that description, sir? Division by 0. Next, what is stack trace? Sir, where the problem? Where the problem? Stack trace or location. At which location the problem came? At which location the problem came? Stack trace or location, sir. Now, in which locations are? Inside do more stuff. Do more stuff is called by do stuff. Do stuff is called by main. Have you observed? Location is do more stuff. Do more stuff, which is called by do stuff, which is called by main. This is the complete stack trace. Remember, with this information, exception object will be created. Sir, let me repeat up to this. So, inside a method, if an exception rises, the method in which it is raised is responsible to create exception object. Remember, this is the responsible to create exception object. Okay, well, exception object created by the method with the help of JVM internally, right? Sir, immediately this exception object hand over to exception object hand over to JVM. Remember, sir, in our day-to-day also, somewhere on the road, if accident happen, something goes wrong, accident happen, then immediately we have to intimate to the police, ambulance, like here also, if something goes wrong, with that complete information, we have to create exception object, hand over this object to JVM. Okay, here who is the policeman, who is the ambulance person, is the JVM, right? Now JVM will ask, in which method this problem came? In which method this problem came, sir? Who is asking? JVM. Do more stuff. Now immediately JVM will ask, hey, do more stuff. In your area something goes wrong, some exception rises. Do you have handling code? Do you have handling code? Like this, JVM will ask, do more stuff. What the answer do more stuff is going to tell? No, I'm not having any handling code. If you are not having handling code, immediately JVM is going to terminate this method abnormally. Remember this one. Immediately JVM will terminate this method abnormally without executing remaining code, sir. Without executing remaining code, JVM terminates this method abnormally and remove the corresponding entry from the stack. Observe, because something goes wrong, he is not in a position to handle then how I can keep this person, man? Block this person or terminate this method. Okay, like terminate this method and remove the corresponding entry from the stack. Okay, do more stuff method terminated abnormally. Now, what the JVM will do? Array, do more stuff is just a method. Someone called this method. Who is the caller of do more stuff? Respond. Who is the caller? Who calls do more stuff? Do more stuff called by do stuff. Immediately, JVM will approach. Hey, do stuff. You are calling do more stuff. You called do more stuff. But inside do more stuff area, something goes wrong. Arithmetic exception raised. You are responsible to handle that exception. Where is the handling code? Where is the handling code? Can you please show? Like JVM will ask do stuff, sir. Then immediately what the do stuff is going to tell? Boss, I'm not having any handling code. Array, if you are not having any handling code, you can't continue. Immediately JVM will terminate the caller method also and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Okay, well, now, sir, immediately JVM will ask, Array, who is the caller of do stuff? Who is the caller of do stuff? Now the caller of do stuff is main. Immediately JVM will ask main method. Hey main, you are calling do stuff. Do stuff calls do more stuff. Do more stuff raises some exception. Sir, do more stuff and do stuff both not handle. As a caller, you are responsible to handle. Where is the handling code? Like JVM will ask main method, right? Then immediately main method is going to tell, no, I'm not having any handling code. If you are not having handling code, then I will terminate you also. I will terminate you also, like JVM is going to convey. Then simply main method is going to tell, Array, I'm your friend. I'm your friend. Okay, how you can terminate? So what? You are not in a position to handle exception. That's why you can't continue your execution. Main method also terminated abnormally and removes the corresponding entry. Now, observe very interesting story. Who called the main method? Can you please confirm? Who is calling main method? Main method is called by JVM only. Now, who is the responsible to handle this one? Finally, JVM is the responsible to handle. To handle such type of things, JVM will maintain one assistant. Who is that assistant? Is default exception handler. Who is that assistant, sir? Can you please spell out? Default exception handler is the assistant, right? Now, immediately, JVM is going to hand over exception object to the default exception handler to handle. Default exception handler won't do anything. Just print exception information to the console and terminate the program abnormally. Okay? In which format it is going to print, sir? Exception in thread main. In which thread the problem came? Exception in thread main. What is that exception, sir? Arithmetic exception. What is the description? Division by 0. So, exception in thread main, name of the exception, and the description of the exception. Next, yet. What is the stack trace? Yet, test dot do more stuff. Test dot do more stuff. This do more stuff is called by test dot do stuff. Test dot do stuff. Do stuff is called by test dot main. Are you getting? Do stuff is called by main. So observe, exception in thread main, arithmetic exception, name of the exception, division by 0, description, and this one is a stack trace. In this format, exception information will be printed by the default exception handler and terminates the program abnormally. Remember this one, sir? So by default, if for exception something goes wrong, what will happen, sir? What is the default exception handling in Java? This is what you people should aware. So just very briefly, I'm going to repeat so that you will get much clarity. Observe that, sir. Sir, here main calls do stuff. Do stuff calls do more stuff. Inside do more stuff, arithmetic exception raised. So inside a method, if an exception raised, the method in which it is raised is the responsible to create exception object by including the following information: name of the exception, description of the exception, and the stack trace. With this information, so exception object will be created by do more stuff, of course with the help of JVM only. Sir, after creating this exception object, sir, it will be handed over to the JVM. Sir, now JVM will ask, do more stuff. You raise some problem. Do you have handling code or not? If you are not having handling code, I will terminate this method abnormally. JVM will terminate this method abnormally, removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Remember that. Sir, now after terminating this method abnormally and removes the corresponding entry from the stack, now JVM will identify who is the caller. Who is the caller method? Who is the caller method? Do stuff. Again, it will do the same process for the do stuff. Oh, do stuff. You are calling do more stuff. Do more stuff, raise some issue, raise some arithmetic exception. You are responsible to handle that. Where is the handling code? Where is the handling code? Like JVM is going to ask do stuff also. So JVM unable to identify any handling code, then JVM will terminate this do stuff abnormally, removes the corresponding entry from the stack. So this process will be continued until main method. If the main method also does not contain handling code, JVM terminates main method and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Sir, now no one to handle such type of requirements, JVM maintain default exception handler. JVM hand over the object to the default exception handler. Default exception handler just print exception information in this format and terminates the program abnormally. Sir, here how many methods are there? 3 methods. All 3 methods are terminated abnormally, right? The program termination is abnormal termination. It is not a graceful termination. Is it clear for all of you? Execute this code. Is it going to be happened or not? Observe carefully, sir. Here, have a look once. Same example I'm taking. Observe carefully. Here class test, first method main internally calls do stuff internally calls do more stuff is trying to print SOP of 10/0 like this, right? Now let me execute this code, sir. First compile. Yes, happily the code compiles fine, no problem at all. Now at runtime, have you observed? Exception in thread main java.lang arithmetic exception division by 0 yet tester dot do more stuff yet tester dot do stuff like this. Sir, if you observe that, sir, here just observe, this is name of the exception, java.lang arithmetic exception name. This is description of the exception and this one is stack trace. Okay, remember this one itself is stack trace. Okay, sir, who is the responsible to print this total information? Are you getting? Who is the responsible to print this total information, sir? Default exception handler. Can you please tell, is it normal termination or abnormal termination? I respond. Is it normal termination or abnormal? Abnormal. Something goes wrong. It's not normal termination. Abnormal termination never be recommended. Clear, right? So, if something goes wrong, by default, how the things are going to be happen? What is the default exception handling in Java? This is the story, sir. Now, sir, make sure total how many methods are there? 3 methods, sir. How many methods are terminated abnormally? Every method terminated abnormally. That's why, sir, it is abnormal termination. Clear? Now I will explain second example related to default exception handling so that you people can get much clarity. Observe that here class test public static void main string array args. Sir, main method calls do stuff method. Do stuff method calls do more stuff. Sir, same as previous example only, but where is the difference, right? Do more stuff. Sir, now inside do more stuff, SOP of hello I printed. Now, sir, after completing do more stuff method call, sir, just I'm trying to print what? SOP of 10/0 inside you do stuff. Now, what is the flow? Sir, what is the exact output we are going to get to the console? You should aware. Now, observe, sir, now in this program, how many threads are there? Only one thread. What is that thread, sir? Main thread. Main thread, sir, JVM is going to create runtime stack for the main thread. Okay, well. Now, here observe, first method, which is going to be called by the JVM, sir, main. Okay, main thread. Main thread is the responsible to call main method. Yeah, the part of main method, it is calling which method? Do stuff method. Now, yeah, the part of that, it is calling do stuff method. Do stuff method. Now, sir, do you know, yeah, the part of do stuff, now it is calling do more stuff. Are you getting? Now it is calling which method, sir? Do more stuff. Now, do more stuff. Do more stuff. Okay, like. Now, do more stuff will be called, okay, like. Can you please observe, whenever the control, whenever you are calling do more stuff, now the control entered into do more stuff. Inside do more stuff, what is the line is there? SOP of hello. That's why just the print output will become hello. Hello, that's all. Observe, output will become hello. Sir, now after SOP, any other statement I have to execute? Nothing. That's why do more stuff completed normally. Sir, if a method completes normally, sir, removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Now do more stuff, this method execution, is it normal termination or abnormal termination? It is what? The normal termination. Correct, right? Normally completed. Now the control goes to do more stuff. Yes, it is already completed. Now, what is the method? What is the method? SOP of 10/0. Sir, SOP of 10/0, here arithmetic exception raised. Remember this one. So inside which method arithmetic exception raised? Okay, inside do stuff. Do more stuff already completed. No more do more stuff. Do more stuff already completed, sir. Only inside do stuff SOP of 10/0. Sir, now there is no handling code. That's why JVM is going to terminate this do stuff abnormally and removes corresponding entry. Okay, sir, have you remembered? So inside do stuff, if an exception raised, sir, an exception object will be created by do stuff. Correct or not? Now this sir, exception object hand over to the JVM. JVM will check whether this do stuff having any handling code or not. No handling code. That's why JVM terminate this method abnormally, removes the corresponding stack. Sir, now JVM will identify who is the caller method. Which is the caller method? Can you please spell out? Main. Main method also doesn't contain handling code. JVM terminate this main method also abnormally and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Now, who is the caller of main method? JVM is the caller. Now JVM is the responsible to handle this exception. Sir, what the JVM is going to do is, JVM delegate this responsibility to default exception handler. Default exception handler just print exception information to the console and terminate the program abnormally. Sir, in which format default exception handler will print exception information? Can you please tell, sir? What is that? Exception in thread, exception in thread main, exception in thread main. What is the name of the exception? Please confirm. Java.lang. Arithmetic exception division by 0. This is the description. Division by 0. Yet very important. Sir, whenever exception raised, in which method it is raised? Do stuff method. Do stuff method called by which one? Main method. That's why yet test dot do stuff. Yet test dot do stuff. Now this do stuff is called by test dot main. Sir, please make sure this is the information is going to print to the console and the program will be terminated abnormally. Everyone can able to understand, right? Sir, that's all this is. Sir, total how many methods are there? Can you please confirm? Total how many methods? 3 methods. Main, Do stuff, do more stuff. But to do more stuff, normal completion, normal termination, but the remaining two method, abnormal termination. Remember, if at least one method terminates abnormally, the program termination is always abnormal termination. Sir, even though do more stuff completed normally, but still this program abnormal termination only. Clear for all of you, right? Just let me execute this code, sir. Observe carefully. Have a look once. Have a look once. Here, class test, public static void main. Sir, observe very carefully. Here, do stuff, sir. Do stuff internally calls do more stuff. Do more stuff just print hello. Sir, after completing do more stuff, SOP of 10 by 0 is there. Regarding SOP of 10 by 0 is there. Okay, like now have a look once. What output by default we are going to get, sir? The code compiles fine. The code compiles fine. What is that output? Hello. Hello will be printed, and then exception in thread main java.lang.arithmetic exception division by 0. I hope everyone in the position to understand very clearly, right? Okay, arithmetic exception hello followed by arithmetic exception. This is the stack trace, right? Clear, friends? I hope you are in the position to understand clearly, right? Now the last example related to default exception handling. Observe carefully, sir. Here class test, public static void main method calling do stuff, and after completing this do stuff method call, it is printing SOP of 10 by 0. Oh, exception will be raised inside main method. Remember, main calling do stuff. Okay, now inside do stuff we are calling do more stuff. After completing do more stuff, SOP of high is also there. Okay, now next inside do more stuff, SOP of hello. That's all right. Now observe the flow. What will happen? Sir, runtime stack will be created. Runtime stack created. Sir, first main method will be called by main thread. Okay, main. Next, within the main, it is calling which method? Do stuff. For every method call, one entry will be added. Now do stuff. Now do stuff. Observe carefully. Sir, if we are calling do stuff means now the control entered into do stuff method. Inside do stuff method, two activities are there. Calling do more stuff. After completing do more stuff execution, SOP of high. Now calling do more stuff. Now it is a method call. Compulsory one entry will be added. One entry will be added. Added, right? Calling do more stuff. One entry will be added. Sir, inside do more stuff. Now SOP of hello. Hello. That's all. Sir, now just print hello. What is the output we are going to get, sir? Hello. Hello will be printed, or otherwise output hello. Hello will be printed. Next, do more stuff. After printing hello, any other activities I have to do? Nothing. Do more stuff completed normally. Now removes the corresponding entry from the stack. It is a normal completion of this method. Now the control go back to caller. Caller is the do stuff. Sir, inside after completing do more stuff method call, SOP of high is there. Now print that high. Print that high. Now, sir, after completing high, SOP of high, can you please tell, is this do stuff completed or not? Completed. Is it normal completion or abnormal? Normal completion. Once a method completed, now removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Are you getting? Now the control goes back to caller like main method. Sir, now take a bit very special care. At this point, do stuff and do more stuff methods completed normally and removes from the stack also. Okay. Now, sir, after completing this do stuff method call, SOP of 10 by 0. Oh, exception got raised. Arithmetic exception got raised, sir. Now, sir, immediately exception object created, hand over to JVM. Regarding hand over to the JVM. JVM will check whether this method contain any handling code or not. Sir, this method, main method, doesn't contain handling code, then JVM terminate this method abnormally and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Regarding terminate this method abnormally, remove the corresponding entry from the stack. Okay. Sir, now who is the responsible to handle? Who is the caller of main method? JVM. JVM is the responsible means to handle such a type of situation. JVM hand over this responsibility to default exception handler. Default exception handler just print exception information to the console. Do you know? Exception in thread main. Exception in thread main. What is the name of the exception? Java.lang. Arithmetic exception division by 0. Description java.lang arithmetic exception division by 0. Yet can you please tell inside which methods are? Yet test dot main. Are you getting? Yet test dot main. That's all. So do more stuff completed normally. That's why they won't be included in the stack trace. Okay, that's all. This is what you people should aware. Let me execute this code. Have a look once, sir. Observe carefully. The same program, right? Do stuff, main method calling do stuff. Sir, after calling do stuff method call 10 by 0. Next do stuff is calling do more stuff high. Next SOP of hello, like this, right? Now have a look once what is the output we are going to get, sir. Sir, observe the code compiles fine. Same program, sir. What output by default we are going to get? Hello, hi, followed by exception in thread main. Java.lang arithmetic exception division by 0. Yet have you observed in the stack trace we are not going to see do stuff and do more stuff, because do stuff and do more stuff methods completed normally. Okay, now I have one wonderful point, sir. Can you please tell, is this program termination normal termination or abnormal termination? Can you please confirm? Is it normal termination or abnormal termination? Yes? Is it normal or abnormal termination? Abnormal termination. At least one method terminates abnormally. The total program termination is abnormal termination. If all methods completed normally, then only termination is normal termination. Remember this one. This is the abnormal termination because at least one method terminates abnormally. Everyone can able to understand, right? So if an exception raised, if you are not having any handling code, by default what will happen? Okay, this is what the default exception handling. Clear? Hi friends, in the last video we covered default exception handling in Java. If you are not writing any try catch, how the flow of execution? Sir, it's very clear. I covered 3 examples, right? Sir, now I will explain the most valuable, very important concept for the entire room, exception hierarchy. Remember that. What is the topic? Exception hierarchy. Sir, in Java, there are several exceptions are there, errors are there. File not found exception, out of memory error, like multiple exceptions, multiple errors are there. For all these exceptions and errors, which class acts as parent class? Anyone, can you please tell? Which class acts as a root for exception hierarchy? Sir, for all Java classes, which class is the root? Object class. But for all exceptions and errors, which class acts as a root, sir? Throwable acts as a root. What is that, sir? Can you please confirm? Throwable class acts as root for Java exception hierarchy. Sir, have you observed? Is it a class or is it interface? Throwable, something like runnable, serializable, clonable. Are you getting? So runnable, serializable, clonable, all these are interfaces. What about throwable? Seems to be, it is the name reflects interface name, but it's not interface, it is a class only. Remember that. Throwable is a class but not interface. all exceptions and errors in Java are child class are throwable, sir. That's why throwable acts as root class for Java exception hierarchy. Next, sir, do you know throwable class contain two child classes are there. Observe a bit very carefully, sir. Two child classes are there. What is the first one, sir? Exception. Throwable class contain two child classes. First child class is what? Exception. Now the second child class is error. Right? Sir, how many child classes are there for the throwable? Two child classes. What the first one, sir? Exception. Second one, error. Now, what is the difference between exception and error? Again, very important question for the interview room. What the difference? What the difference between exception and the error? Okay, very simple, sir. Most of the times, exceptions are caused by our program. Because of our program only, exceptions will be raised, sir. So, who is the responsible? Sir, who is the reason for exception? Our program only. Sir, my program reading data from your file. At runtime, if file is not available, file not found exception. So, because you are reading the data from that file, that's why the problem is coming. If you are not going to read, the problem may not come. Are you getting? So, most of the times, exceptions are caused by our program only. Okay. Next, exceptions are recoverable or non-recoverable. Exceptions are recoverable. Then immediately we ask, sir, what is the meaning of recoverable? Recoverable, sir. Sir, now observe, read data from remote file. Read data from remote file. Locating at London, sir. Assume that. So this is my program. This is my programming requirement, right? By mistake, at runtime, if a London file is not available, then file not found exception is going to come. So you are trying to read the data from the London file. So that's why file not found exception is coming. Our program only reason for file not found exception, right? But what is the meaning of recoverable? Assume if a file not found exception is coming, I am in a position to handle, use local file and continue rest of the program normally. Sir, very simple, try and catch block. Sir, what is that exception? File not found exception. Exception A, use local file and continue rest of the program normally. Use a local file and continue rest of the program normally. Are you getting? So, who is the reason for exception? Our program. Next, if exception raised, am I in a position to handle or not? Yes, we can handle. Happily, rest of the code will be continued normally. This type of thing is called recoverable. Exceptions are recoverable or not? Yes. Who is the responsible to recover? Programmer is the responsible, or programmer's catch block is the responsible to recover that exception. Clear, right? So, what is an exception? I mean, what is the difference between exception and error? Sir, most of the times exceptions are caused by our program and exceptions are recoverable. Clear, right? Sir, now what about errors? Very simple, sir. Most of the times errors are not caused by our program. Errors are not caused by our program. Our program code is not responsible to raise error. Okay, most of the times errors are not caused by our program. Errors are non-recoverable. Observe, errors are non-recoverable. Sir, assume, sir, what is the meaning of non-recoverable? I wrote a program, sir. My program execution started. Suddenly, some virus attacked, JVM crashed, sir. Are you getting? Virus got attacked, my system got attacked with the virus, JVM itself got crashed. So, if the JVM got crashed, being a programmer, what I can do? I can't. Then we have to install again Java or again JVM, and then we have to run our program. Are you able to understand, right? Sir, same way. if my program is executing, if out of memory error is coming, sir, out of memory error, sufficient memory is not there. If out of memory error is coming, being a programmer, what you can do? You can't do anything. You can't do anything. System admin, server admin, he is responsible to increase heap memory. Out of memory error is coming. What programmer is going to do? Programmer simply seeing, that's all. Okay? Because being a programmer, we can't do anything if error occurs. That's why errors are non-recoverable. Errors are not caused by our program. Errors are caused due to lack of system resources. Regarding just due to lack of system resources. Observe a bit very carefully, sir. Due to lack of system resources, errors got caused. Okay, so maybe sufficient heap memory is not available. Maybe my system attacked with virus. That's why virtual machine got crashed. These type of things are by default considered as errors which are non-recoverable. Clear for all of you, right? Sir, can you please tell which class acts as root for exception hierarchy? Respond, man. Which class acts as root for exception hierarchy? Throwable class. Throwable class contain how many child classes are there? 2 child classes are there. What is the first child classes are? Exception. Second one, error. What is the difference between exception and error? Exceptions are caused by our program. Exceptions are recoverable. Even exception occurs, no problem. I can write catch block to handle that exception. Rest of the code will be continued normally. What about the errors, sir? Errors are caused by, okay, not our program, due to lack of system resources. Maybe memory problem, hardware problem, virus attack. These type of things are by default considered as errors. Errors are non-recoverable. If out of memory error came, if virtual machine error occurs, being a programmer, we can't do anything. We have to see, that's all. Our program will be terminated abnormally, which is nothing but what? Error. Sir, very important question for the interview room. What is the difference between exception and error? You people should have clear clarity. Clear, right? Sir, now it's very clear what is the difference between exception and error. Sir, throwable class contain 2 child classes. Exception, second child class is what? Error. Clear, right? Now, under exception, again, there are several child classes are there. Sir, runtime exception. Runtime exception. Under exception, there are several classes are there. Runtime exception. Next, do you know IO exception? IO exception. Next, interrupted exception. Very important, sir. In the multi-threading, you will get interrupted exception. Interrupted exception. Next, do you know IO exception? Interrupted exception. Next, remote exception. Remote exception, like there are several child classes are there, like servlet exception, SQL exception, like multiple child classes are available, right? Sir, observe, under exception, there are several child classes. Runtime exception, IO exception, interrupted exception, remote exception, like there are multiple child classes are there. Next, under runtime exception, again several child classes are there, sir. Do you know? Sir, arithmetic exception. Sir, we saw multiple times in our last example. Arithmetic exception, division by 0. Next, null pointer exception. Next, class cast exception. CCE, class cast exception. Okay. Next, do you know? Here, index out of bounds exception. 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 For that, child classes are, do you know, sir, array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception is the child class of index out of bounds exception. String index out of bounds exception, which is the child class of index out of bounds exception. Remember this one, sir. Sir, like, so runtime exception. For that, multiple child classes are there. Arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, class cast exception, index out of bounds exception, array index out of bounds exception, string index out of bounds exception. Similarly, illegal argument exception. Illegal argument exception. Illegal argument exception under the number format exception. Found exception. File not found exception. Okay, like this. Regarding EOF exception, file not found exception, like that. Multiple interrupted exception, remote exception, like. Sir, all these things are related to exception. Clear, right? Similarly, for error also, there are several child classes are available. Okay, virtual here VM error. Can you please spell out what is the meaning of VM error? Virtual machine error. Under the stack overflow error. Stack overflow error. Next, out of memory error. Out of memory error. Out of memory error. Stack overflow error. Out of memory error. Similarly, here do you know linkage error is there. Linkage error. Further, child class is verify error. Further, child class is verify error. Next, sir, do you know assertion error? Assertion error. Next, exception in initializer error. Exception in initializer error, like multiple child classes are available. I hope everyone got the basic idea, sir. Minimum commonly occurred exception compulsory you people should be aware, sir. So which class acts as a root for exception hierarchy? Throwable acts as the root. Next, throwable class contain how many child classes are there? 2 child classes. What is the first one? Exception. Second one, error. Next, under exception, how many child classes? Runtime exception, IO exception, interrupted exception, remote exception, servlet exception, SQL exception, like multiple. Under runtime exception, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, class cast exception, index out of bounds exception, array index out of bounds exception, string index out of bounds exception, illegal argument exception, number format exception. Okay, like next under IO, EOF exception, file not found exception. Next, interrupted exception, which is the child class of exception. Interrupted exception, which is the child class of exception, like this, right? Similarly, under error also multiple child classes are there, like virtual machine error, stack overflow error, out of memory error, linkage error, verify error, assertion error, exception in initializer error. Is it clear for all of you, right? So please make sure basic idea you people should have clear clarity about exception hierarchy. Clear? Hi friends, in the last videos we covered very clearly, sir, what is exception hierarchy, which class acts as a root for all exceptions, what is the difference between exception and error. Now the next most valuable question for the interview room, if you go for any Java interview, this question is compulsory question from exception handling, sir. Such type of beautiful concept we are going to discuss. Please take a bit very special care. Okay, sir, what that concept? What is the difference between checked versus unchecked exceptions? What is the difference between checked versus unchecked exceptions? You people should have clear clarity about this one, sir. Sir, next, moreover, if you understand this concept, now the next remaining topics of exception handling will become very easy, especially throws keyword. Throws keyword always associated with checked exceptions. First you should be aware what is checked exception, then you can easily understand throws keyword. Next, how to define our own customized exceptions. It is also associated with unchecked exceptions. So that's why if you want to understand, okay, next things very easily,
compulsory you people should require to take very much care here. Next, moreover, it's very, very important for the interview room. Without asking this question in the Java interview, there is no chance of interview, right? That's why almost crores of times asked question in the interview room. What is the difference between checked exception and unchecked exception? Remember. Sir, now, can you please tell what is checked exception? You respond. What is checked exception? What is unchecked exception? Sir, somewhere at my childhood, somewhere I may heard from my students saying the exceptions which occurs at compile time are called checked exceptions. The exceptions which occurs at runtime are called unchecked exceptions, right? Sir, let me repeat again. The exceptions which occurs at compile time are called checked exceptions. The exceptions which occurs at runtime are called unchecked exception. Sir, this type of answers most of the people are going to tell. Even in your mind also, this definition may be there. Okay? This statement, 100% pakka wrong statement. Remember this one, sir. Whether exception is checked exception or unchecked exception, compulsory, every exception should occur at runtime only. There is no chance of occurring any exception at compile time. Then immediately we ask, sir, at compile time we are getting some errors. Those things are syntactical errors, but not the runtime exceptions. Remember this one, sir. Whether it is a checked exception, whether it is unchecked exception, always occurs at runtime only. Okay? At compile time there is no chance of occurring any exception. Okay? Compile time, what we are going to get? Syntactical errors. We have to correct those things. That is not exception. It is not part of exception handling. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, well. Then, sir, if this is not the definition, then what is checked exception or what is unchecked exception? Okay, very, very simple. I want to tell with a small analogy, you people can able to understand very easily, right? Sir, do you know, I hope you people remember your 10th class days. In our life, first time, do you know, we have public exams. Everyone is a bit panic about 10th class exams, okay, because they are, which is going to decide our life, our future, the 10th class exams, right? Everyone, including parents, also a bit panic. Assume that first day, you are ready to start for the first exam. Do you know, I hope you people just remember your 10th class days. So you are ready to go for first day exam. Then at the house, n number of formalities are there. Do you know, special puja with the god. They're getting special puja. If I'm going to get 500 marks or 10 out of 10, then automatically I will come to directly Tirumala. I will hand over special agreement with the god. Special puja we are going to do that. Your all ticket, your pen, everything is going to take nearby god and special puja we are going to do that. Next, you are ready to start for the exam. Assume that. Then automatically your mother or your sister is coming. Okay, sentiments are there, like all those. Do you know, just ready to start. Then immediately your mother is going to ask, Arey, can you please cross check? Have you took all ticket or not? Okay, usually whenever we are ready to go for the exam, most of the times our mother or father, they will alert, Arey, can you please cross check whether you took hall ticket or not? Okay, like now I have one small doubt, sir. If I am not taking hall ticket, the problem at a runtime, invigilator is not, examiner is not allowed into exam hall. Okay, but there is no problem at the house. Are you getting? At the beginning, no problem. At runtime, there is a problem. If my mother is going to ask, Arey, can you please cross check whether you took hall ticket or not? If the mother is going to ask that, if we are checking whether I took hall ticket or not, then there is no chance of hall ticket missing. Are you getting that? There is no chance of hall ticket missing. Happily at runtime, my execution will become very smooth. Are you getting right? So hall ticket missing exception is a very common exception. If someone is going to alert about this hall ticket missing exception, then at runtime my execution of the program will be very smooth. Now my question is, whether you took hall ticket or not, who is checking? Who is checking here? Your mother is checking or your father is checking. The same way, compiler will check whether you are handling this particular exception or not. Boss, at runtime, maybe a chance of a particular exception is there. There is a possibility, man. Whether you are handling or not, compiler will check. If you are not handling, immediately compiler will give left and right. Remember that. The exceptions which are checked by compiler for smooth execution of the program at runtime, these exceptions are by default considered as what? Checked exceptions, right? So checked exceptions should be handled by programmer. How the programmer is going to handle? Try, catch, throws, that part we are going to discuss. The exceptions which are checked by compiler for smooth execution of the program at a runtime, whether programmer handling or not, these things are going to be checked by compiler. Such a type of exceptions are by default considered as checked exceptions. All the people are in a position to understand, right? Who is going to check? Checked exception. Who is going to check? Compiler will check whether the programmer handling this exception or not. Such type of exceptions are by default considered as what? Checked exceptions, right? Clear? Not required to keep any explanation. That's why. So first exception, hall ticket missing exception. Are you getting? Hall ticket missing exception. This is the checked exception, right? Okay, mother can check, compiler is checking, forget about compiler, mother is always going to check, because it's a very common exception for the exam student. The people who are going for the exam, minimum in a center 10 to 20 members are always going to miss hall ticket, right? If the mother is going to allow, then there is no such type of problem. So the exceptions which are checked by mother, which are checked by compiler, whether the programmer handling or not, for smooth execution of the program at runtime, these exceptions are by default considered as what? Checked exceptions, right? Yes, friends, all the things are very clear. Let me go for one more example, just to get the clarity, right? Sir, suppose, best example, this is also one example related to the exam only. Mother, first question she is asking, Arey, can you please cross check? Whether you took hall ticket or not? Okay, first case completed. You showed immediately, mother, I took already hall ticket, don't worry, like you are telling, sir, you gave the bharosa. Okay, well, now the next thing, immediately mother will check. Arey, while writing exam, pen may not work. Are you getting? Pen may not work. It's a very common thing. In our regular class only, sometimes pen may not work. Okay, in the exam, it's also very common. Arey, while writing exam, pen may not work. So pen not working exception is the very common exception for the exam student. Correct or not? Pen not working exception. Arey, maybe a chance, man, your pen may not work. Are you taking extra pen or not? Mother asked, sir. Are you getting? So mother just asked her, are you taking extra pen or not? So now I have one doubt. If my pen is not working in the exam, then the problem is at runtime. But why the mother is asking at the beginning, Arey, have you took extra pen or not? Why the mother is going to ask? If the mother alert me about this situation at runtime, yes, even pen is not working, I have alternative pens also, so that happily my program execution will become very smooth. Are you getting right? The exception which are checked by compiler, whether programmer handling or not, for smooth execution of the program at runtime, these exceptions are by default considered as what? Checked exceptions. I hope everyone in the position to understand, right? So whenever mother asked her, Arey, if the pen not working exception occurs, how you can handle? Then immediately I showed mother, so I have 3 extra pens are there. By using these 3 extra pens, I can able to handle. Don't worry, like you told. So mother satisfied with all the answers, whatever answers you provided, then you are ready to start for the exam. Are you getting right? So same way here in our programming, compiler is going to check whether you are handling most commonly raised exceptions or not. So if a compiler is going to check if you are already prepared to handle at runtime, if really that exception is going to come, no problem at all. We are in a position to handle smooth execution of the program is guaranteed. Such type of exceptions which are checked by compiler are called checked exceptions. Clear for all of right? So pen not working exception. Pen not working exception. Not working exception. Okay, these things are checked exceptions, right? So theoretically, okay sir, can you please show with a small program so that we are in a position to understand clearly, right? You people may ask. Very simple sir, have a look once, observe a bit carefully sir. I'm taking a small program, class tester. I'm taking a small program, class tester. Public static void main method, public static void main method, string array args. Public static void main, string array args. Now print writer pw is equal to new print writer pw is equal to new print writer of abc.txt. Observe carefully. Print writer pw is equal to new print writer of abc.txt. pw dot print ln of hello, like this I took sir. pw dot print of hello, print ln of hello, like this I'm taking. Now print writer present inside java.io package. Are you getting right? That's why import java.io.star also I'm taking. Observe carefully sir. A small program I wrote. Now take a bit very special care. Sir, who is the responsible to check exception? Who is the responsible to check? Compiler will check whether the programmer handling or not. If the programmer not handling, compiler won't accept the code to compile. Immediately compile method you are going to get. Observe that. Now I will ask, Array, what activity I am doing? Just simply I am writing hello to abc.txt. That's all I am doing. Hello to abc.txt. This is what I am doing, right? Now I will ask the compiler. Hey, compiler, can you please compile this code? Are you getting? Compiler, can you please compile this code? Like this I am asking the compiler. Then immediately compiler is going to tell, Durga, sorry, I can't compile. Hurry, I can't compile. Then I will ask what is the reason. Durga, you are trying to write hello to abc.txt. If abc.txt file is not available, then there may be a chance of file not found exception. Correct or not? In your program, there is a possibility of file not found exception where you didn't take care about this one. That's why, sorry, I don't want to handle. I'm not going to compile this code. I won't compile this code like compiler is going to tell. Are you getting? So compiler checking whether you are handling file not found exception or not. Okay, remember. So what compile time errors are? Exact compile time error. Observe. Unreported exception. Java.io.file not found exception. Java.io.file not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Are you getting? Must be caught or declared to be thrown. This is the compile time error we are going to get. I hope you are in the position to understand, right? So simply compiler is asking, hey Durga, you didn't report about file not found exception. Okay, there is a possibility of file not found exception. So must be caught or declared to be thrown. This is the exact compile time error you are going to get. Sir, now I will ask one question. Is it file not found exception occurs? No, it is not exception in thread main file not found exception. Compiler is telling Durga, there is a possibility of file not found exception. You didn't report about this exception. That's why I can't compile this code. This is like this compiler is going to ask. So means that file not found exception, whether you are handling or not handling, compiler is checking, right? That's why this file not found exception is considered checked exception, sir. File not found exception is the best example to understand what is the checked exception, right? Let me execute this code. Let me show this compile time error. Have a look once, sir. Very simple terminology here. Legend this. Sir, what is the code? Can you please guide? I forgot. Array print writer pw is equal to new print writer of abc.txt. Print writer pw is equal to new print writer of abc.txt. pw.println or print anything you can take, no problem at all, sir. Hello, like this, right? And sir, print writer is available inside IO package import java.io.start. Okay, that's all. This is the program. This is the program what we have. Now let me compile this code. Now let me compile this code, sir. Java C tester.java. Observe that very carefully. Durga, there is a possibility of file not found exception. You didn't report about this exception. How I can compile this code? Like this compile time error by default you are going to get, sir. Okay, remember that. Now have a look once. Observe carefully, sir. What is the exception we are getting? Unreported exception. File not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Are you getting? Must be caught or declared to be thrown, sir. Means that file not found exception not occurs. Compiler is telling Durga, there is a possibility of file not found exception. Compulsory you have to report either by using try catch or by using throws keyword. Like this compiler is going to check. These type of exceptions are by default considered as checked exceptions. All the people are in the position to understand, right? The most valuable important concept for the interview rooms are which is a checked exception. The exceptions which are checked by compiler for smooth execution of the program at a runtime, whether the programmer handling or not. Such type of checking is going to be done by compiler. Such type of thing is by default considered as checked exception. Can you please give an example for checked exceptions, sir? File not found exception. Next, hall ticket missing exception, pen not working exception. These things are examples for checked exceptions, right? Are you feeling comfortable? Respond, man. Are you feeling comfortable? Clear, right? Can I go for one more example so that our next exception handling life will become very easy? Just observe. Let me go for another small example, right? Here observe, I'm taking class test. Observe a bit very carefully, sir. Second example, class test. Public static void main method string array args. Public static void main string array args. Okay, now the next thing what I'm trying to take, system.out.println, I want to sleep very happily. I want to sleep very happily. Okay, like this, right? Sometimes we may not have that much happy sleep, even just we are sleeping, that's all. So we may not. I want to sleep very happily. Okay, how much times thread dot sleep of 1000 milliseconds. Are you getting? Thread dot sleep of 1000 milliseconds. Now in this program, of course, it's associated with multi-threading, where exception handling is a very common requirement. That scenario I'm explaining. In this program, how many threads are there? How many threads are there? Even in the last videos also I told. Okay, every Java program compulsory contain one thread. What is that thread, sir? Main thread. Are you getting? Every Java program compulsory contains one thread. What is that thread? Main thread, right? Now, sir, do you know main thread want to sleep for some time. Main thread want to sleep for some time. How much time? 1000 milliseconds means 1 second main thread want to sleep, sir. This is the code what I wrote. After 1 second sleeping, the program will be stopped because no other code is there, sir. Now my question is, I will ask, Array compiler, can you please compile this code? Compiler, can you please compile this code? Like this I will ask. Simply, compiler is going to tell, Durga, I can't compile. Durga, I can't compile. Array, what is the problem? Simply compiler is going to ask, Durga, you are calling thread.sleep method. Main thread will entered into sleeping state. Are you getting? Main thread will entered into sleeping state. If the main thread entered into sleeping state, then there may be a chance other threads may interrupt this sleeping main thread. Yes, suppose you are in sleeping, man. In the room you are in sleeping. Your friend, Array, please wake up. Shall we go for movie? Or shall we go for chai? Or shall we go for class? Maybe a chance. Yeah, someone is going to interrupt. You are sleeping. So, some other thread may be a chance of interrupting this sleeping person. Sir, if a sleeping person got interrupted, immediately interrupted exception we are going to get. What is that exception? Interrupted exception we are going to get. Now the compiler will ask only one scenario, only one question. Durga, in your example, there may be a chance of interrupted exception. You didn't report about this exception. How I can compile this code? Are you getting, Durga? Whenever you are using sleep method, there is a possibility of interrupted exception. You didn't report about this exception. How I can compile this code? Compiler will always be left and right. What exact errors are? Observe that compile time error. Unreported exception. Unreported exception. Which exceptions are? Interrupted exception. Unreported exception. Interrupted exception must be caught or declared to be. Must be caught or declared to be thrown. Are you getting? Must be caught or declared to be thrown. This is the compile time error we are going to get. Sir, observe very carefully. Unreported exception, interrupted exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. It doesn't mean interrupted exception occurs. Are you getting it? It doesn't mean interrupted exception occurs. Just compiler simply telling that there is a possibility of interrupted exception. You didn't report about this exception. That's why. So I can't accept this code to compile. Like compile time error we are going to get. Are you getting right? The exceptions which are checked by compiler, whether programmer handling or not, for smooth execution of the program at runtime, such type of exceptions are called checked exceptions, right? Interrupted exception is another example for checked exception. Okay, sir, now let me execute this code. Have a look once. Sir, here have a look. Sir, class test public static void main. I want to sleep very happily. Thread.say. The danger line is about this one, sir. This is the most dangerous. Danger line. Now have a look once, sir, about this one. Now I'm trying to compile. What is the compile time error? Sir, unreported exception. Which exceptions are? Java.lang.interrupted exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. This is the compile time error you are going to get. So, interrupted exception is another example for checked exceptions, right? Up to this is the clear. What is a checked exception? The exceptions which are checked by compiler for smooth execution of the program at runtime, whether programmer handling or not. Such type of exceptions are called checked exception. Can you give an example for checked exception? Okay, file not found exception, interrupted exception, hall ticket missing exception, pen not working exception. These things are checked exceptions. Everyone got the clarity? What is checked exception? By mistake, if interview person is asking what is checked exception, go left and right. Clear, right? Sir, in the last video, we covered very clearly what is checked exception with multiple examples, right? Now we have to perform postmortem on unchecked exceptions so that you people can feel more comfortable. Sir, what is unchecked? Unchecked. Checked means compiler will check. Unchecked means compiler won't check. So let me go for a small normal analogy and then I will go for technical example. So do you know, your mother will check whether you are handling hall ticket missing exception or not, pen not working exception or not, like mother can check. Because missing hall ticket, pen not working, these things are the most commonly raised exceptions in the exam hall. Correct, right? That's why mother is always going to check. Now I have another small doubt. Mother can ask, Arey, whether you took hall ticket or not, whether you took extra pen or not. These things every mother or every father before going for the exam, every parents are always going to ask. Now I have one small doubt. Assume that if you are going, if you entered in the exam hall, of course you are writing the exam. So while writing the exam, just beside, suddenly there is a big bomb blast is going to be happen. Are you getting? There is a big bomb blast is going to be happen. Arey, how you can handle the situation? Is your mother can ask like this? Arey Durga, while writing the exam, just beside, there is a bomb blast is going to be happen. How you can handle? How you can handle this situation? If the mother can ask. If you forgot all ticket, how you can handle? If the pen is not working, how you can handle? Mother can ask. Arey, there is a big bomb blast is happening just beside you. So how you can handle? If the mother can ask. Never. By mistake, if the mother is asking such type of question, I don't want to go for the exam. Even by mistake, if I'm going for the exam hall, my concentration is not on the exam paper, my concentration is on beside any bomb is there or not. That's why, so no mother will ask such type of questions. Okay, but is it possible for bomb blast exception in the exam hall or not? Yes, man. Yes, but very rare. Out of 1 crore times, maybe one time. But in India, as of now, bomb blast not reported in the exam hall. Remember, don't worry about that. Okay, that is very rare. That's why mother will ask commonly occurred problems only. Okay, very rarely occurred things my mother is not going to ask. Are you able to understand? Same way, there are some exceptions which are not checked by compiler. Okay, compiler won't check. Such type of exceptions are by default considered as unchecked exception. Can you please give an example? Best example, bomb blast exception. Are you getting? Best example, bomb blast exception is the example of unchecked exception, right? Okay, well, now my question, take very special care, sir. Can you please give an example for technically, can you please give an example so that we can able to understand easily, sir? Observe carefully, right? Here I'm taking class test. Okay, public static void main method, public static void main string array args. Just my target is system.out.println 10/0 I'm taking, sir. System.out.println 10/0. Just I'm taking like this, right? Now I will ask the compiler, can you please compile my code? Compiler, can you please compile my code? Like simply compiler, what is going to tell? Durga, no problem, happily I can compile, like the code is going to be compiled. Then immediately you may get the shock. Arey, there is a possibility of arithmetic exception, but still compiler is the silent because arithmetic exception, whether you are handling or not, my compiler is not going to check. Are you getting? Compiler never going to check whether you are handling arithmetic exception or not. That's why arithmetic exception is not checked by compiler, okay, which is unchecked exceptions, right? Okay, the exceptions which are unchecked, which are not checked by compiler, whether the programmer handling or not, such type of exceptions are by default considered as unchecked exceptions. Okay, best example, arithmetic exception, no compile time error, but at runtime exception in thread main, exception in thread main java.lang. Arithmetic exception division by 0. So This is not the compile time problem. This is the problem at the runtime. It is the runtime exception, right? That's why arithmetic exception is not the checked exception. It is unchecked exception. Clear, right? Okay. So just take a bit very special care. Let me execute this code, sir. Have a look once. Here. Class test I'm taking. Class test 10 by 0. Have a look once. Class test public static void main 10 by 0. Like this I'm taking, sir. Now I will ask the compiler. Compiler, can you please compile my code? Compiler, can you please compile my code? Java C test.java. Happily the code compiles fine, no problem at all. Happily the code compiles fine, no problem at all. Now Java test. Regarding Java test, if I can ask like this, at runtime I'm getting exception in thread main java.lang.arithmetic exception division by 0. So even arithmetic exception is coming at runtime, but my compiler never going to object about this one, because compiler never worry about arithmetic exception, because it is unchecked exception, right? Regarding the most commonly raised exception, sir, compiler is always going to check. Rarely occurred exception, compiler won't check. Such type of exceptions are by default considered as unchecked exceptions. Is it clear for all of you, right? So can you please give an example for unchecked exception? Bomb blast exception, arithmetic exception. These things are examples for unchecked exception. Can you please give an example for checked exception? The exceptions which are checked by compiler, whether programmer handling or not. Such type of exceptions are called checked exception. Hall ticket missing exception, pen not working exception, file not found exception, interrupted exception. These examples are checked exception. But these arithmetic exception, bomb blast exception, these are examples for unchecked exceptions. Up to this is the clear for all of you, right? If you feel comfortable, then I will go for which are checked exceptions, which are unchecked exceptions, right? Sir, let me go for another small example to get much clarity on checked exception, so that you people can feel more comfortable. Do you know, have you ever heard about Safari? Okay, Safari team, South Africa team is called Safari team. Safari. What it means, Safari? Safari means you can go into the forest to see wild animals. Do you know that tour name is called Safari? Safari, right? Here, assume you took the ticket for Safari. There is a special vehicles will be there. Okay, even animals are going to attack, protection by default will be there. Like you have to take 600 rupees or something, like you have to take the ticket. And you have to enter into that vehicle, right? Now 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers through inside deep forest, they will bring, so that you can see wild animals live directly, naturally, right? That is called Safari. Do you know, one time I went somewhere in Bandipur, near Karnataka, Mysore, Bandipur. Just I went for the Safari, sir. I took the ticket, just I approached, I came nearer to the vehicle. Then there are some security people are there. Security people just objected me, sir, you are not allowed for Safari, like. Then immediately I asked, why I not allowed? I have the ticket, like. Sir, you are not allowed for the Safari, like. Then I asked, what is the reason, like. Sir, you used a very dark color shirt, okay, very dark blazing color shirt. If this type of shirt is there, if a blazing color, okay, what shirt if you are using, maybe animals, there is a maximum chance to attack. Are you getting? Wild animals maybe a chance to attack. That's why. So you can't use this dark color shirt. Compulsory you require to change your shirt. Then only we are allowed for the Safari, like they told. Hurry, it doesn't mean animals came and attacked me. No. The security people are alerting me, sir. You didn't, you are using so very blazing color or dark color shirt, which are going to be so attracted or feared by animals. There is a maximum chance to attack. That's why, sorry, with this dress we are not allowed. then immediately, so my luggage is very far, then immediately nearby one cloth showroom is there, then I took the new shirt, I changed my shirt, then they are allowed me. Observe a bit very carefully, right? So have you observed, right? So why security people object me? Because at runtime there may be a chance of problem. Okay, to prevent that, these people are going to alert me. Such a type of exceptions are by default considered as checked exceptions, right? Are you getting right? Animal attack exception. There is a possibility. Animal attack exception, which is the checked exception, man. Compiler will check whether you are in the position to handle or not. Clear, right? Okay. Come back. In the last session, I covered about exception handling hierarchy. Which class acts as root for exception? Total Java exceptions and errors are throwable class acts as a root, right? Now this throwable contain two child classes. One is exception, the second one is error. Are you getting? One is exception, second one is error. Under exception, runtime exception, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, class cast exception, index out of bounds exception, array index out of bounds, string index out of bounds, like multiple things are there under runtime. Similarly, under exception, IO exception is there. Under IO, EOF exception, file not found exception. Next, interrupted exception, servlet exception, SQL exception, remote exception, like multiple things are available. Similarly, error also. Error, virtual machine error, stack overflow error, out of memory error, like. So now my question is, among all these things, which are checked, which are unchecked? Are you getting? Which are checked, which are unchecked? So which things compiler will check whether you are handling or not? Which things compiler ignore? It is not going to check whether programmer handling or not. Which are checked, which are unchecked? Compulsory you people should have clear clarity about this terminology, right? Okay? Listen carefully. What about errors, right? Errors. Sir, simple. In the last somewhere I covered, errors are non-recoverable. Okay? If an error occur, being a programmer, you can't do anything. Just we have to see, that's all. The program will be terminated abnormally. Because errors are not caused by our program. Errors are caused by due to lack of system resources. Okay. So here, if out of memory error is coming, being a programmer, what you can do? Nothing. I can't do anything because errors are non-recoverable. Program will be terminated abnormally. Exception handling concept not applicable for these bloody things, right? Now the question is, take very special care. Error, is there any chance compiler will ask the programmer, compiler will ask, Durga, there is a possibility of out of memory error. How you can handle? Durga, how you can handle? Is there any such type of possibility the compiler is going to ask me? By mistake, if the compiler will ask this question, okay, then I will give left and right to the compiler. Bloody compiler, errors I can't handle. That is not my job. Why you are asking this question to me? That's why. So errors are non-recoverable. We are not responsible to handle. We can't handle also. Out of memory error is coming. What I can do? System admin or server admin is responsible to increase the memory. So program will be terminated abnormally. They are responsible to increase, not by the programmer, right? That's why errors, compiler never going to ask the programmer whether you are handling or not. That's why all errors are unchecked. Remember this one, sir. All errors are unchecked. Observe that a bit very carefully, sir. Every error by default unchecked. Similarly, here say this one. What about runtime exception? Runtime exceptions because of our runtime values. Okay. So runtime exception and its child classes. Observe very carefully. Runtime exception and its child classes. Error and its child classes are unchecked. Are you getting? Just observe very carefully, sir. Runtime exception and its child classes. Next, error and its child classes are unchecked, sir. So it is also unchecked. It's also unchecked, sir. So this corner, runtime exception and its child classes, error and its child classes are unchecked. A except these two groups, all the remaining are checked exceptions only, except this runtime exception and child classes, error and child classes. Every remaining thing is by default checked one only. Throwable checked, sir. Next, exception checked, IO exception checked, EOF exception, file not found exception, interrupted exception, servlet exception, remote exception. All these things are checked exceptions only. So which are checked, which are unchecked? You people should have clear clarity. Runtime exception and its child classes, error and its child classes are unchecked, except that all the remaining things in our exception hierarchy are checked exceptions. Compiler is always going to check whether you are handling or not. Yes, this part, sir. But unchecked area, compiler never going to check. Everyone in the position to understand what is checked, what is unchecked exceptions are right. Sir, up to this checked and unchecked exceptions is very clear. Now the next cinema, very important, sir. What is fully checked exception, partially checked exception? Of course, in the checked exceptions, again two categories are there. What is fully checked exception, partially checked exception? Very simple, sir. Do you know, when we say that a checked exception is said to be fully checked, and when we say that a checked exception is said to be partially checked, sir, checked versus unchecked only we are getting the problem to understand. Then why this fully checked and partially checked? Somewhere in the next sessions this concept may be helpful. That's why compulsory you people should aware, sir. Okay, well, sir, now just very simple. If you go to shopping mall, okay, with your kid, do you have the kids? Do you have the kids? Yes or no? Don't tell no. Even you are not having the kids, just tell soon, we will bless, just soon, we will get the kid. Okay, so like you have to tell soon. Okay, anyway, you went to the shopping mall with your kid. In the shopping malls, security these days is very common, right? Now, in the shopping mall, they are going to check only parent. So metal detector is there. They are going to check only parents, but small kid, they never going to check. Ignore. This type of checking is called partial checking. Are you getting partially checked? So parent should be checked, but kid not required to check. Kid need not be checked. Such a type of checking, partial checking. Just observe general word. Full checking means if you go to the airport to travel to some other place with your kid. In the airport, whether you are parent or kid, everyone should be checked properly. Are you getting? Parent should be checked, kid also should be checked. Are you getting? Parent should be checked, kid also should be checked. This type of checking is called full checking. Are you getting it? Fully checked. So, partially checked, fully checked, what it means? So, parent compulsory checked, child need not be checked. This type of thing is called partially checked. Okay, parent compulsory checked, but child, parent and child both compulsory should be checked. Such a type of checking is called full checking. Observe a bit very carefully, sir. Best example, IO exception. Have you observed? IO exception. This IO exception is checked. It is a checked, sir, because it is not under runtime, it is not under error. It is not under runtime exception error, it is a checked. It is a checked. It's a child also checked, sir. The child is also checked. That's why. So IO exception is said to be fully checked exception, because sir, it is already checked. All its child classes also checked, fully checked. Sir, interrupted exception fully checked. Servlet exception fully checked. Remote exception fully checked, sir. All these are fully checked. Sir, now what about exception? Exception is checked because it is not under runtime exception. It is a checked, sir. So exception is checked, but some of its child classes are unchecked. Are you getting? Some are checked, some are unchecked. That's why exception is partially checked. Exception is partially checked. Observe carefully, sir. Exception itself is one partially checked. Next, what about throwable? Throwable is also checked, sir. Checked. Basically, it is the checked. Next, because it is not under runtime exception, it is not under error, it is checked. So, for these, some child classes are unchecked, some child classes are checked. That's why it is also partially checked. It is also partially checked. Remember this one. So, if the parent is checked, but the child need not be checked, such type of thing is called partially checked. If the parent is checked and the child is also checked, such type of thing is by default considered fully checked. Remember this one. So, it is what? Fully checked, but these things are partially checked. Sir, now, can you please tell any three partially checked exceptions in our exception hierarchy? Any three partially checked exceptions in our exception hierarchy? Please confirm. Already two things already there. Throwable and partial and exception. These two are partially checked. Sir, just this total is unchecked. In the case of unchecked, partially fully checked, no. It is unchecked. Next, fully checked, fully checked, fully checked, fully checked. So, the only possible partially checked exceptions in Java, the only possible partially checked exceptions in Java are only two things. One is throwable, second one is exception. Only these two are partially checked exceptions. Except these, all the remaining are fully checked only. Remember that. I mean, fully checked exceptions are there. You have to tell which are checked or unchecked or partially checked or fully checked, sir. Can you please observe? First one, IO exception. Is it a checked or unchecked? Can you please confirm? Is it a checked or unchecked? It is checked because it is not under runtime exception. It is not under error. IO exception is checked, sir. Next, IO exception is checked and all its child classes also checked. That's why this one is fully checked. Remember this one. If you observe, it is checked. It is checked. Of course, it is fully checked. Are you getting? It is a fully checked exception, right? Okay. So it's very clear about first one. First one, IO exception checked, fully checked. Next, what is a runtime exception? Just now I told runtime exception and all its child classes. Runtime exception and all its child classes are unchecked. That's why. So simply it is unchecked, sir. Simply this one is unchecked. Unchecked. Okay. Sir, now what about interrupted exception? What about interrupted exception, right? Interrupted exception, okay, is not under runtime exception, is not under error. That's why it is a checked and it is not having the child. If any child is there, it is also checked. That's why it is a fully checked. Interrupted exception is one fully checked exception. Okay, let me take. Sir, here it is interrupted exception is also fully checked, sir. Okay, like it is the checked at the same time fully. Sir, what about error? What about error? Error, sir. Error and its child classes are unchecked. I told right, error and its child classes are unchecked, right? So runtime exception and its child classes, error and its child classes are unchecked. That's why error is unchecked. Okay, now let me take it is unchecked, sir. Okay, sir, what about throwable? Have you remembered, right? Throwable is not a child class of runtime exception, is not a child class of error. That's why obviously this one is checked exception, sir. But for throwable, some child classes are unchecked, like runtime exception, error, these are unchecked. That's why throwable is checked but partially checked. Observe that carefully, sir. Throwable is unchecked but partially checked. Regarding it is a partially checked, not fully checked, right? Okay, well, now what about arithmetic exception? Arithmetic exception is the child class of runtime exception. Runtime exception and all its child classes are unchecked exceptions, right? That's why runtime exception, I mean arithmetic exception is unchecked. Null pointer exception is also unchecked because arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, these are child classes of runtime exception. That's why these two things are unchecked. Observe carefully, sir. Here just arithmetic exception is unchecked. Next null pointer exception is also unchecked because both are child classes of runtime exception, right? Next, what about exception? Sir, exception is not under runtime exception, is not under error. That's why it is a checked exception, right? But some of child classes of exception like runtime exception is unchecked. That's why, so it is partially checked. It is partially checked exception, sir. Have a look once here. This is, sir, checked only, but it is partially checked, sir. It is the checked only, but it is partially checked. Okay, like next, what is file not found exception? What is the file not found exception? File not found exception is a child class of IO which is not under runtime, which is not under error. Obviously it is a checked, sir. So no child class is there for file not found exception. Obviously it is fully checked exception. File not found exception is what? Fully checked exception. Okay, have a look once, sir. So it is checked, but this one is fully checked exception. Any doubt about this one, sir? So just my intention of covering all these things, so your concept will get much clarity. At the same time, if you are having any doubts, automatically will be clarified. That's all, sir. This is about what is checked and unchecked exceptions. Most valuable important concept for the interview room, even to learn the next topics in exception handling. Take a bit very special care about this concept. Clear? Hi friends, in the last videos we covered very clearly what is the difference between checked exception, unchecked exception, exception hierarchy, default exception handling in Java, next runtime stack mechanism, next general introduction to exception handling. Up to this we covered all these things, right? So now whatever we covered, just the theoretical things. So you may feel bored, you may not get that much interest, but the next things what I'm going to discuss are very interesting things, because programmatic exception handling we are going to start. So now I have to talk about what is a try, what is the catch block, what is the purpose of finally block. So next throw keyword, throws keyword, like all the things, very interesting things we are going to discuss. So it's a good news for you, right? Okay, well, next, what is the next topic we have to discuss? Sir, customized excelling by using try catch. Customized exception handling by using try catch, right? What is the, how you can use a try, which code we have to take inside catch block. All these things you people should get very clearly, right? So now let me go for a small example. Without a try catch, what problem we are facing? So to overcome this problem, how you can use a try catch? Just have a look once. I don't know, sir, try catch. Without try catch, sir. Sir, very simple example I'm taking. Class test, public static void main method I'm taking. String array args. Public static void main string array args. System.out.println SOP here just I'm taking system.out.println statement 1 I'm taking, sir. Statement 1. Next system.out.println 10 by 0 system.out.println statement 3 I'm taking, sir. Statement 3, that's all. So I don't know exception handling. I don't know try catch, that's why I didn't use like this, right? I didn't use. Can you please tell what is the output we are going to get? What is the output we are going to get if I execute this code? Is it normal termination or is it abnormal termination? Very simple. So if I execute this code, statement 1 will be printed normally. But while executing this line, SOP of 10 by 0, arithmetic exception will be raised. But there is no handling code. You are not having any handling code. Immediately the program will be terminated here only. Are you getting? The program will be terminated here only. Runtime exception, arithmetic exception, division by 0, like this, right? Sir, this is abnormal termination. This is normal termination. The program stopped in the middle only. That's why I can use the word, this one is abnormal termination, right? Sir, abnormal termination never recommended. It is highly recommended to handle exceptions, right? Sir, why it is not recommended? Very simple. Because of abnormal termination, we may miss something, we may lose something, we may block our resources. That's why abnormal termination, that risky code we have to take inside a try block. Clear for all of you? Next, in this risky code, if any exception rises, where we have to take corresponding handling code inside catch block. Are you getting? Where we require to take corresponding handling code inside catch block. Here some catch exception. Here we have to write handling code. Here we require to write which code, sir? Handling code. Observe very carefully, sir. So the code which may raise an exception, that code is called risky code, but not whiskey code. Whiskey is also risky only, right? Okay? Risky code. Inside the risky code, if an exception rises, then immediately corresponding catch block is going to handle. And once I handle, remaining code will be continued normally. Remember this one, sir. So how to use a try block, how to use a catch block, you people should be aware. So inside try block, which code we are going to take? Risky code, the code which may raise an exception. Risky code we have to take inside try block. The corresponding handling code we have to take inside catch block, right? Okay. Same program with the try catch, sir, exception handling code, what I have to take? Observe carefully. Here I am taking class test. Public static void main method, string array args. Okay, string array args. Now SOP of statement 1, it is not risky code. SOP of statement 1, it is not risky code. That's why take normally. System.out.println statement 1 take normally. But SOP of 10 by 0 is the risky code. Maybe a chance to raise arithmetic exception. That's why here try block I am taking. Inside a try block, risky code I am taking. System.out.println 10 by 0. Try block SOP of 10 by 0. Now, sir, catch block. Here I am taking catch block, catch. Sir, if arithmetic exception rises, because here in this risky code, which exception there is a possibility? Arithmetic exception. Because being a programmer, you know, this code, what type of problems may be a chance to rise? What type of exceptions may be a chance to rise? You should aware catch, arithmetic exception. Catch, arithmetic exception is, sir. So while executing this code, if any exception is coming, if any problem is coming, can you please execute this alternative code? Alternative code handling code is nothing but SOP of 10 by 2. Are you getting? Is nothing but SOP of 10 by 2. Try catch block. After that, here now the remaining SOP of statement 3 we have to take. SOP of statement 3 we require to take, sir. Now observe the flow. Sir, is it normal termination or abnormal termination? Have a look once. Sir, statement 1. So what is the output we are going to get? Statement 1, sir. 1. Sir, now while executing this one, arithmetic exception rises. immediately the control will comes to catch block. Regarding immediately the control will comes to catch block, right? Sir, now SOP of 10 by 2 means 5, sir. 10 by 2 means 5. After that, sir, exception raised, handled. Now remaining code will be continued normally. That's why SOP of, sir, statement 3 will be printed. Can you please tell, is it normal termination or abnormal termination? Normal termination. Even though something goes wrong, we handled that by using catch block. It is a normal termination. Normal termination. It is the graceful termination. I can use the word. It is a graceful termination. We are not going to miss anything, sir. This is the way how you can handle exceptions by using try catch. Is it very clear for all of you? So inside try block, which code we have to take? Risky code. The code which may raise an exception, that code we have to take inside a try block. The corresponding handling code where we have to take inside catch block, sir. Okay. So once handled, then rest of the code will be continued normally. This is the way how to use try catch. The first 2 keywords in Java exception handling is sir, this what you people should aware, sir. Sir, now let me execute this total scenario. Have a look once, sir. I'm taking a simple example. Here a simple example I'm taking, sir. Observe carefully, right? Yeah. A simple example. Here I'm taking just observe statement 1. Here this is the statement 1 I'm taking, sir. Next here this is the statement 2. Statement 3 I'm taking like this. Can you please tell, is it normal termination or abnormal termination? Obviously this one is abnormal termination. What is the reason for that? Because you didn't write any try catch blocks yet this line arithmetic exception will be raised, terminated abnormally without executing third line. Okay, have a look once. Have a look. What is the answer? By default we are going to get here is, sir, observe carefully. Java C test.java Java test. Observe statement 1 executed under abnormal termination. Are you getting? Where is the statement 3? Statement 1 executed under then abnormal termination. Arithmetic exception division by 0. So it is a non-graceful termination, never be recommended. We should handle. That's why what I have to take is, sir, in this total code, total code, which code is the risky code, sir? In this total 3 lines, sir, this code is the risky code. What is the reason for that? This code may raise an exception. That's why it is called a risky code, right? Okay. Now Java's here this risky code we have to take inside a try block, sir. Just observe a bit very carefully, sir. We are taking inside try block. Next handling code where we have to take, sir, inside catch block. Okay. Now arithmetic exception. If arithmetic exception is going to come, now instead of this line, can you please perform? Can you please execute alternative line? Regarding, can you please execute alternative line? Next statement 3 will be executed, right? Sir, observe. So here statement 1 will be executed normally. Sir, while executing this line, if arithmetic exception, control will comes to catch block. Sir, after completing catch block, remaining code will be executed normally. That's why it is a normal termination, graceful termination. We are not going to miss anything. Let me execute this code. Observe carefully, sir. Here the code compiles fine. And I'm trying to execute statement 1, statement 5, statement 3. No exception, no abnormal termination. That's all. So, if multiple catch blocks, try with multiple catch blocks is possible, recommended to use. If try with multiple catch blocks are there, order of catch blocks is important, compulsory. Child first and then parent next. By mistake, parent you are taking first and then child, immediately compile time error we are going to get. Any doubt? Sir, in the last videos we covered very clearly try with multiple catch blocks. Now the next cinema, what I have to start? Finally block. What is the concept, sir? Can you please spell out? Finally block. Sir, now I have, what is the need of finally block? What is the speciality of finally block? You have to get much clarity right here. Just observe. Do you know? Open DB connection. I open one database connection. Okay, open database connection. Next, read the data. Are you getting? Read the data. Open DB connection, read the data. And then close DB connection. Close DB connection. Like assume. Open DB connection, read the data, close DB connection. Do you know? Close DB connection. This activity is called resource deallocation code. We are deallocating the resource. This activity is called what? Resource deallocation code. Are you getting? Resource deallocation code. We are deallocating the resource. Such a type of code is also known as cleanup code. Such a type of code is also known as cleanup code, not close up. Close up is also meant for cleanup only. Okay, sir, it is a cleanup code. Okay, well, first clarity, which is called cleanup code. Okay, resource deallocation code, like closing DB connection, closing the file. Okay, like this type of things are by default considered as resource cleanup code. Okay, sir, resource deallocation code, cleanup code, right? Now my question is, observe carefully, sir. Here I am taking try block. Sir, now open DB connection, open and read the data, followed by close DB connection, like this. If any exception is coming, now catch exception handling code is there. Can you please tell, is this approach, is it recommended or not? You respond. Is this approach either recommended or not? Approach means, so writing cleanup code inside it recommended or not? Okay, so it's a never recommended. Okay, write a cleanup code inside a try block, never recommended. What is the reason for that is, suppose you open DB connection successfully while reading data. Sir, while reading data, some exception got raised. Here some exception got raised. Immediately the control will go to catch block. So if the control will goes to the catch block, who is going to close a database connection? Regarding who will close my DB connection, it is the problem. Correct or not? Okay, here only the control goes to catch block, then who is going to close my DB connection? It is always a problem. That's why it is never recommended to maintain cleanup code inside a try block, because if there is no guarantee for the execution of every statement. Sir, before this, if an exception rises, then this line is not going to be executed. Who is going to close DB connection? So no one is going to close. One database connection will be wasted. Is it clear, right? So try block never meant for cleanup code. Okay, well, so now I'm taking one more approach. Here try block I'm taking. Within the try block, open DB connection, read the data, like. Now catch block I'm taking, okay. Inside catch block, let me write close DB connection. Let me write close DB connection, like this I'm taking, sir. Can you please tell, writing cleanup code inside catch block, is it recommended or not recommended? Can you please confirm? Writing cleanup code inside catch block, is it recommended or not recommended? Again, not recommended. What is the reason for that is, sir, if there is no exception, then catch block won't execute. If the catch block is not going to execute, then who is going to close DB connection? Are you getting right? That's why, so to close DB connection, compulsory we have to raise the exception, meaningless. That's why this approach is also not at all recommended. Clear for all of you, right? Okay. So we never recommended to write cleanup code inside a try block because there is no guarantee for every statement execution inside a try block. Before this line here, if an exception is coming, then this line is not going to execute. Okay. Next, never recommended to write cleanup code inside catch block. What is the problem? What is the problem here is, what is the problem? If there is no exception, catch block is not going to execute, then who is going to close my DB connection? That's why this approach is also not recommended. Okay, well, sir, we require some place to maintain cleanup code. I want some place to write cleanup code which should be executed always, whether exception raised, not raised, handled or not handled. Sir, in any case, my cleanup code should be executed, sir. Do you have such a type of place? That place is nothing but finally block. Remember this one, sir. Finally block, specially designed concept to maintain. Observe the approach here. Try block. Now open DB connection, and read the data. Okay, now catch block, some handling code, and some handling code, some handling code we can take. Next, finally block. Regarding next one, finally block, inside finally close DB connection. Regarding finally block, inside finally close the DB connection. Like this I'm taking, sir. Sir, now the biggest advantage of this finally block is this finally block will be executed always, whether exception raised, not raised, handled or not handled. Even in abnormal termination also, finally block will be executed. That's why, so the main objective of finally block is to maintain cleanup code. The biggest specialty of finally block is, what is the specialty of finally block, sir? So this block will be executed always, irrespective of whether exception raised, not raised, handled or not handled. Such a type of best place is nothing but finally block. Everyone can able to understand, right? What is the need of finally block? What is the specialty of finally block? Okay, like now observe this one. Inside a try block, which code we can take? Respond. Which code we can take? Risky code. Inside a try block, which code we can take? Risky code. Next, inside catch block, which code we can take? Handling code. Next, inside finally block, which code we can take is, what is the code, sir? Which code we can take inside finally block? So risky code, handling code, and then here cleanup code. Okay, very important question for the interview room also. What is the purpose of finally block? To maintain cleanup code, resource deallocation code. Sir, what is the specialty of finally block? The specialty of finally block is, sir, it will be executed always, whether exception raised, not raised, handled or not handled. In any case, my finally block will be executed. That is the biggest specialty, right? Sir, if you feel comfortable, I will explain all these things with respect to an example. Then you can get much clarity on the concept. Clear up to this? Sir, up to this, it is very clear what is the purpose of finally block. Now let me go for programming example so that you will get much clarity. Have a look once. Here, case 1. I want to take case 1. If there is no exception, assume that if there is no exception, finally block will be executed or not. I want to show programmatically, right? Sir, assume try block, system.out.println, try is there. Okay, that's it. Next, catch block, exception E, catch block exception E, system dot out dot println, okay sir, catch block like. Next finally, okay finally, system dot out dot println finally. Observe very carefully sir, okay finally like. Can you please tell, in this scenario any exception riser? No, simple SOP statements, that's all, no exception. If there is no exception, okay, what is the flow? Sir, try block will be executed. Immediately, the control will goes to finally block. Because there is no exception, catch block won't be executed. That's why, what is the output by default we will get, sir? Try followed by finally. Are you getting what is the output? Output you are going to get try followed by finally. That's all. So first case, it is very clear. If there is no exception, finally block will be executed compulsory. Let me check with example. Have a look. Let me execute this code here. Just I am taking. Observe carefully, sir. It is the try block, catch block, finally block. There is no exception in the try. There is no exception in the try. Now, what is the output we are going to get, sir? Have a look once. Try followed by finally. Have you observed? What is the answer we are going to get, sir? Try followed by finally. Okay? If there is no exception, finally will be executed. Okay? Now, let me go for case 2, sir. Okay? Case 2. If an exception raised and handled, observe, if an exception raised and handled, so handling catch block is there. Okay, like now try here, observe, system dot out dot println try, I'm taking try block. Now system dot out dot println 10 by 0, sir. SOP of 10 by 0 like. Now catch, okay, and E, catch block, arithmetic exception E, system dot out dot println, okay, this is the catch block, sir. Catch block, finally, okay, finally, system dot out dot println finally block. Are you getting finally? SOP of finally block. Take very special care about this terminology, right? Sir, try executed, and whenever we are getting arithmetic exception, immediately, sir, the corresponding catch block will execute. Okay, catch. After catch block, yes, finally will be executed anyway. Sir, what is the output we are going to get, sir? Try. Whenever arithmetic exception is coming, catch block, sir, catch. And after catch block, finally will be executed normally. So, try catch finally is the output we are going to get, sir. Are you getting? So, case 2 is the very clear. Finally will be executed if an exception raised and handled. Clear, right? Let me execute this code. Observe that. Have a look once. Same code, only a small change here is, let me raise arithmetic exception. Okay, here assume that it is the arithmetic exception. Okay, now exception raised, sir. At this line, exception raised, but the corresponding catch block is already available. After catch block, immediately finally will be continued, sir. So now case 2, let me compile. Yes, happily the code compile. Let me execute. Try catch finally. This is the output we are going to get, sir. Perfect. Try catch finally. This is the output we are going to get, sir. So if there is no exception, if an exception raised and handled, happily my finally block executed. Can you please tell what is the next case? Guess, man. What is the next case? If an exception raised but not handled. Exception raised, man, but not handled. Abnormal termination. In this case, finally block will be executed or not. Observe a bit carefully, right? Here, so case 3, sir. If an exception raised, if an exception raised, but not handled, but not handled like, but not handled, what will happen? Now observe, try block, system dot out dot println, try sir, and then system dot out dot println 10/0. Can you please tell which exception will be raised? Respond. Which exception will be raised, sir? SOP of 10/0. Which exception? Arithmetic exception. But available catch block is null pointer exception. Observe that. Available catch block is null pointer exception. Okay? Means that you are having heart problem, but a doctor available, eye specialist is available. What he can do? Are you getting? So here riser exception is arithmetic exception, but available catch block is null pointer exception. So it can't handle arithmetic exception, abnormal termination. Okay, now system dot out dot println catch block, sir. Catch block, and then I'm taking finally, and then finally system dot out dot println block I'm taking. That's it. Sir, take a bit very special care about this. Sir, this example is the very important when compared with the last two. Sir, flow you should aware. Now observe SOP of try. So what is the output we will get, sir? First try will be printed. Okay, well, whenever we are executing this one, arithmetic exception riser. Whenever arithmetic exception riser, immediately JVM will check, is there any corresponding catch block? No. This catch block for null pointer exception, but not arithmetic exception. That's why. So is there any corresponding catch block? No catch block. Abnormal termination. But before abnormal termination, JVM is always going to execute finally block. Remember this one. It's always abnormal termination. Hand over to default exception handler. But before hand over to default exception handler, before abnormal termination, compulsory finally block will be executed, sir. Okay. So this speciality is available only for finally block. Okay. Even in the case of abnormal termination, compulsory finally block will be executed. Is it clear for all of you, right? This is the speciality of the finally block. So if there is no exception, if an exception raised and handled, if an exception raised but not handled, finally block will be executed always. That is the biggest speciality of finally block. Everyone can able to understand? 2 points you people should aware, sir. Point number 1, what is the purpose of finally block? To maintain cleanup code, resource reallocation code. Next, what is the speciality of finally block? Finally block speciality is it will be executed always, irrespective of whether exception raised, not raised, handled, not handled. In any case, my finally block will be executed. Clear? Sir, in the last videos, we covered about finally block very clearly. Sir, now finally block versus return statement. Regarding finally block versus return statement, what is the behavior we have to discuss, right? Sir, first inside a method, if there is a return statement is there, okay, inside a method, if there is a return statement is there, then rest of the method won't be executed. Remember this one, sir. Okay, that's all. That method will be terminated. Inside a method, if there is anywhere return statement is there, after return statement, remaining code is not going to be executed. Now my question is, inside a try block or catch block, return statement is there. Now finally block will be executed or not? Are you getting? Inside try block, return statement is there, or inside catch block, return statement is there. Finally block will be executed or not? This is about my doubt. Observe carefully, right? Here I am taking class test, public static void main method string array args. Okay, let me write complete executable code. Now here try system dot out dot println try sir. Next here catch block, catch exception e I'm taking. Now system dot out dot println exception, system.out.println exception, catch block exception. Next, finally, system.out.println finally block. Okay, finally, like this I'm taking, sir. Now my question is, so first try and then finally will execute. It is a normal flow. Try and then finally, because there is no exception. But the problem here is return statement is there, sir, inside a try. So inside a main method, a return statement is there. What it means is rest of the code not required to execute. Can you please confirm? In this case, what is the output we will get? Finally will be executed or not? Yes, man. I told in the last video very clearly, finally block will be executed always, irrespective of whether exception raised or not raised, handled or not handled. That's why, sir, even return statement is there inside a try block or catch block. First, finally will be executed. After that, return statement will be executed. Are you getting? First, finally will be executed. After that. So, whenever return statement came, immediately JVM is going to convert